Morning, everybody. The day is off to an interesting start. Got quite a few appointments this morning, but I already got a phone call coming in. Let's take it. This is Chris. Hello. Hello, hello. Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay, gonna call that number right back. They called, but didn't talk.
Hello?
Yes, hi. I'm sorry. You just called me, and I don't think we had a good connection.
Oh, I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Um,
okay.
I, okay.
Just want to make sure if it was important, I got back to you.
Okay. I'm sorry. Who, where are you calling from?
My name's Chris Beery. I'm in real estate. I'm a realtor and a licensed investor. So I'm not sure if you had a property that you
Oh,
were looking to sell, or if you may be interested in buying anything. But that may be how
oh,
you got my number.
I think so. Okay. Yeah, I'm on my way taking the kids to school. Yeah, I am. I'll just probably give you a call back. I think I butt dialed you, but
That's
instead
okay.
of my hand, I made a mistake. Sorry about that, but good morning.
Good morning to you. Have a great day. Happy
You
Friday.
as well. You as well.
Stay
Bye
dry.
bye.
Bye bye. Just so you guys know, wrong numbers. It's a huge misconception that wrong numbers are like a bad thing. Like we run into it, we're pulling data kind of en masse, we're running it through the DNC. We're making sure that we're not making any illegal calls, but still means that we run into like wrong numbers. We'll reach out to a person and it isn't who we thought we were trying to reach out to. And as a result, what a lot of folks will do is they'll just kind of hang up, say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, let me let you go." When in reality, like we talked about before, and I tell my agents, and it's a firm belief that you can add value to everyone's life. You might not know it, and you're not gonna know it until you ask. So, everybody you talk to, in real estate, in sales, just because you love them, just because you like being human and you like being part of a community, sometimes it's nice to ask, like, is there anything I can do for you? What can I do? You tell me. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe I'm not available. Maybe it doesn't work with my schedule or whatever it is. But if there's something I could do for you that would make your life better and in turn make my life better, I'd like to know about it. Even if it's nothing that we take action on today, maybe we just kind of both look at each other and say shrug and say, hey, we're good, we're set, everything's all right for right now. Extending that opportunity to someone and saying, hey, what can I do for you? Often yields unexpected results. So, doing a bad thing and running through my email here, looking at all the things that I could have caught up on yesterday. But when in reality, as I look through this email, this is why I have amazing people on my team like Tammy. Tammy Lindley is our transaction coordinator. She's with us on contract, so I'm not sure whether or not we keep her too busy to be able to take on any more agents. I know she services us, about 19 other agents or teams, and I don't know if that means her book is full, but if you're in real estate and you're looking for a transaction coordinator, listing coordinator, someone who knows their stuff and is on top of everything, I highly recommend Tammy Lindley. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I same thing. I'm more than happy to share, so long as she keeps some time set aside for us. So I've got some folks coming into the office today, and I have an early appointment. As a matter of fact, I have like a full day of appointments, as you guys probably well know. After this week of lead gen, I'll tell you, I lead gen pretty much every day. Pretty much doing precisely what I've been showing you all here on the live stream for the last 5 days in a row. Today will be the first day in about a week that I slow down. I don't immediately hop on the phones, and a lot of that's just because I set earlier appointments out of necessity. We're closing on a flip that we're buying today. and I have a pretty stacked day. Now, that's pretty much the only excuse I'll ever accept for myself to not lead generate first thing in the morning is going and meeting with motivated sellers. That is the exception to the rule. So, real quick, what I want to do is just check and see what my drive is like because it's raining. It's raining real nice outside. So, yeah, I'm about 30 minutes away from my first appointment through a severe thunderstorm watch. Yay! It's gonna be a fun drive. Gonna have to make sure I give myself time to stop and get gas because I need gas. I also have a nasty habit of trying to only buy gas from Costco because it's always so much more, like so much cheaper. But what that ends up doing is it means I only ever put like, if I go to QT or just corner gas station, I only ever put like $10 because I just need enough to get me by until I can get to Costco next time. And I think I end up spending more money that way. So maybe that's not the wisest thing in the world. It's my dad calls it penny wise and pound foolish, which a lot of people are. Ever notice that? People pinch pennies and get cheap about the little things, but the things that are really important, they just don't really seem to give it the same thought, give it the same consideration. Run into that a lot today when you realize that, man, just about everybody is a heavy consumer, heavy, myself included. I mean, I'm not preaching to anybody, but I will say that I run across a lot of people who have this notion that they can't afford to get into real estate, afford to invest in properties, afford to, kind of expand their net worth or invest in general. When in reality, that same person probably has the newest iPhone in their pocket, has brand new shoes, has been probably ordering hundreds, if not thousands of dollars off of Amazon on a semi-regular basis. Those things add up. And when you take a look at your finances and you realize that every dollar you make, you spend, then it becomes kind of easy to realize like, hey, maybe I'm not setting myself up for success. And I'm guilty of it too, because I unfortunately like stuff. I like stuff. I'm as materialistic as they come, so I really can't preach against this. But I also prioritize what I know is healthy for me financially in the long term. So that said, let's see if we can make a couple phone calls before folks come in for the day. I'm trying to also rack my brain and put down my to-dos so I don't forget. But what I find is when I remember what I need to do for the day is often while I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now. So let's do that. Let's hop on the phones. Let's go ahead and start making some calls because I'm just a few minutes before the wire for what's acceptable. So 7:52, we're going to get on the phones just a little bit before what's considered acceptable or kosher, but it's not breaking any rules here. So we're going to be able to get on the phone, see if we can talk to a couple people before I have to get out of here. And I guarantee in the meantime, I am likely going to remember what I need to do. And instead of stopping what I'm doing and doing it, I'll write it down so I don't have to remember. So also coming back and looking at some of this live stream makes me realize that I blink a lot. And I think it's because my eyes are kind of perpetually uncomfortable. I do seem to be having some issues with my sight in one of my eyes, so I'm hoping that goes away. Very likely could just be stress or allergies or something like that. So hopefully it goes away. If not, I'm grateful to have eyes and sight for as long as I had them. At least I got to see my wife and my babies.
You are now logged into the Mojo Dialer. Please press the start button on your screen to begin calling.
And just like that, it's like my 9:15 wants to push to Monday. I'm good with that. I'm actually really good with that.
call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Mr. Johnson,
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Yes, hi, Mr. Johnson. This is Chris. You spoke with one of my colleagues, looks like quite some time ago here now, about your property on Slayton Drive, and I just wanted to touch base with you and see if you get me caught up to speed, see if your plans are still to sell that property and move. Give me a call back when you can. Phone number is 817-600-2077. Again, that's 817-600-2077. Thanks. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye. It was very sweet. This guy I've been talking to for a long time is an appointment that I set for this morning, and I was going to have to drive through what looked to be some pretty severe weather. Which, you know, it's Texas, it's North Texas. That doesn't really bug me all that much. It's not like I drove through a tornado a couple months ago. It felt like I was driving down the highway and just electrical boxes were just exploding all around me, and my whole undercarriage of my car just got like ripped off because something got up under there while I was driving down the highway. I ended up pulling off the highway and hanging out under an overpass for a little while to let it pass mostly, and it's just part of it. It's just part of it. There's really not much I can say about living in North Texas and dealing with spring thunderstorms. So. But fortunately, the person who I was supposed to be meeting with is someone who I've been talking to for a long time. I think, matter of fact, I'll go ahead and pull them up on my CRM so I can give you guys an idea of how long some folks take to convert into appointments, to convert into clients or leads that are actionable, ready to take action, ready to do a deal, whether that's sell a property, buy a property, etc. And in this case, Mr. Marshall, he first went into my CRM March 3rd of 2022. So we're almost precisely 1 year later. And it looks here, our original conversation was on March 3rd. We had a follow-up conversation precisely 30 days later because it looked like it was going to be almost definite that he was going to make a move last year, shortly after we originally met. Some plans changed, followed up with him about 30 days later, and he told me, hey, let's shoot for the summertime instead. In the summer, his girlfriend signed a new lease, and so through what seems to be about May, and so, I didn't even realize here we met back in October. How funny. And at the time he wanted $180,000, which I'm pretty positive I can do. So I actually remember meeting with this gentleman. So I'd met with him once in October of last year, and I think we decided, that's right, I see my notes here now. See, this is the beautiful thing about having a CRM is I don't have to remember. If I take good notes, then this is my brain for me. I've been talking to the gentleman for the better part of a year, and I have hundreds and actually thousands of leads in this CRM with this kind of information in there. And as a result, I don't really need to remember. I just need to take good notes, which is much easier. In the long term, much, much easier. So it looks like I talked to him almost exactly every 90 days after June, meaning it's about the time that we decided that, hey, it's looking like later in the year and then maybe next year. And so really, really interesting. So it would appear that, well, anyway, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked reading our notes. So, gentleman I put into my CRM a year ago called me on the day that I set all those appointments and asked me to come back out and take a look at the house and reanalyze and see if we could get him an offer for his property. I'm pretty sure last time we spoke and last time I saw this house, it's going to be, a cash deal only. So in this case, we'll likely be buying this property from him. I like this area of Fort Worth. It's technically Watauga. And just because this guy and I have rapport and a relationship, and we've been talking, and I've been keeping in touch with him and doing what I say when I say I'll do it. He texted me and said, "Hey man, the weather's looking rough. If you want to move to Monday, I totally understand. I prefer it for your safety." I'm like, oh man, that's incredibly sweet of that man. So we rescheduled this appointment to Monday, so I'm going to go ahead and get in here, reschedule this from Monday to 10 a.m. and no harm, no foul. Now, there are situations where I don't like to reschedule like this because it means that I might potentially lose business. But in this case, I don't think that's the case. I think that this gentleman is genuinely concerned about my well-being, and I really appreciate that. I think that's a very sweet thing. So I want to make sure that this translates to my calendar okay. One of the things I've learned being in real estate, in sales, in business, just living life, if you don't put something on your calendar, it probably won't happen. It probably doesn't exist. And I think the ultimate way of telling someone you care about them is to set time aside and prioritize it and put it on the calendar. So at the very least, you can say, hey, I will do everything in my power to honor the commitment I made to meet with you, talk with you, set time aside. And, I think it's a powerful statement to honor your calendar and be very accountable to it. And in this case, I'm looking at it for the week. This is one crazy week. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to live stream and talk to people and really talk to myself as I'm doing my normal job. It's helping me keep accountable. It's helping me stay at my standard, at my level. And so whether or not this adds any value to anyone else's sales career, be it someone who works for me or with me or anything like that, or just a complete and total stranger, this adds value back to me. So thank you all for hearing me out. So, okay, which means that we get to actually do some lead gen this morning. So first call down, no contact. Let's keep it going. Still got started this list on Wednesday with 160 leads. Still have 122 left. So there's some opportunity in here. I know it. I can feel it. I'm going to sing and move this morning too. So if I sing at you, I'm sorry. Yes, hi, I'm sorry, Randy. This is Chris. You probably wouldn't remember me. You actually spoke with one of my colleagues almost a year ago about your property there on Nottingham Place. Just wanted to touch base with you and see if it was still in the cards to sell that one.
You're talking $4,500,000 it's not worth. It is, but it ain't really. So I appreciate the call, Chris.
No, yeah, not a problem, Randy. I appreciate you taking my call. Is it okay if I just continue to stay in touch with you from time to time till you guys are ready?
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one. Bye-bye. I have his contact information. I have his address. I have notes here. We've had a couple conversations along the way. Granted, the last time anybody on our team talked to him was a year ago. So, in this instance, I'm going to take the note, let him know that, hey, this guy's not ready to sell. People who aren't ready to sell sound just like that. So, again, common misconception about wrong numbers is they present zero business opportunity. They do. Just offer your services. Ask how you can help. And then same thing, people who aren't ready right now often sound like they will never be ready. When in reality, things happen. Life changes. People are born, people die. People get married, people get divorced. The flowers grow, the flowers die. Winter turns into spring. Spring turns into summer. So never neglect the fact that just because someone isn't ready now doesn't mean that they'll never be ready to do business with you. So what's my phone lighting up for? Ooh. Making money. I do really enjoy making money. Some people say money is the root of all evil, but I think money is a tool, and money is good for the good that money can do. The more money you make, the more people you can help. So, actually have it. I don't know if you guys can see it right. Let me see if I can make it look like that in the camera. Right there, I have a pretty long list of affirmations. not really affirmations, but things that I want to put out into the world. I want to manifest. I want to rewire and train my brain to think those thoughts, even when the negativity comes in. Because negative thoughts, you don't really try to have. They come to you. The positive thoughts, the ones that are productive, the ones that make you a better person, you have to be intentional about those. You have to try. So, all right, let me go ahead and make this note right here. He isn't ready to sell, but would if he could get 450,000. Which, you know, kind of my mistake. I should have looked him up. Let's look up his address real quick. Let's just get an idea of how far off his goal he really is. Because for all I know, I could be setting a follow-up call for 90 days, which is the maximum. Right? That's the longest I would wait to reach back out to him. And even though in this case I haven't talked to him for about a year. So, you know, do as I say, not as I do. But also, if he's pretty close to his goal, I might be calling him closer to the summertime, which is less than 90 days away. All right, Randy, he wants $450,000 for his 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2375 square foot house built in 1967 in Grand Prairie. I'd say current valuation is about a maximum of 400. So he's close. That's still probably about 2 or 3 years away, given average appreciation of about 7 to 9% in DFW. So, gonna go ahead and make a note here to call him about 90 days and see what's going on. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in my notes as well. Current valuation is probably upwards of about 400. And I'll have some folks coming into the office today, a good friend of mine who has some questions about real estate. I'll probably leave the live stream on. If they're comfortable with it, I may or may not change it. I may or may not turn it off depending on if we get into any conversations I don't feel are appropriate for the public. I doubt it though. We normally keep things pretty PC friendly here. So, okay. That was a contact.
Brandon speaking.
Yes, hi Brandon, this is Chris. I don't know if you remember me or not, but you actually spoke with one of my colleagues about a year ago about your property there on Marco Drive. Just curious to know if it's still in the cards to sell that one.
That one's already been sold.
Has it been? Okay, no worries. Shame on me for not getting in touch with you sooner. Any chance you own any other properties you might be looking to sell here in the near future?
No, but I'm a realtor, so I got listings.
Oh, okay. All right. You got anything that needs cash off it?
My listing is, yeah, everything needs a cash offer if it's the right cash offer.
I understand.
You know?
Sure.
Look at 930 Woodcrest Drive in Lancaster.
Yeah. Mind if I pull it up real quick?
You see it? Yeah,
Well-
go ahead and pull it up.
All right, let's take a look here.
It's actually in come-as-soon status. I'm going to
Yep.
actually flip it today to active.
Oh, okay. Yep, I'm looking at it now. 930 Woodcrest Drive, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1808 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
That sound about right?
Are you seeing the updated pictures and everything else with the big backyard, 8-foot fence?
I'm pulling.
The family has put a ton of money into it. I don't know if you're seeing the older pictures or new ones.
I'm pulling up.
Once I flip it, it should.
Yeah. I'm pulling up the new one right now. I was looking at the old pictures. Okay, so I'm looking at it. Converted garage.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Real nice and clean. Wow.
It's a good one. I feel like it's going to go pretty quickly.
For sure.
You know, so, it's priced really well. And like I said, the owners have put a ton of money in the house.
Okay.
I think they've put about $45,000 in the house over the last 2 years. So,
Wow. Yeah.
They're looking to sell fast with no problem. There's nothing wrong with it because before they went to market, I had them bring a contractor by to, get it painted and everything else. So, property's in really good shape. Roof is pretty much new. Like I said, backyard gates, brand new 8-foot gate.
Okay.
It's in great shape and stuff.
So I can pull this up on my own here in a little bit, but just out of curiosity, if you've got it on hand, do you know what the rent rates are in this neighborhood?
I'm thinking probably about $2,000.
Okay, that's healthy.
It's just it's real close to Dallas.
Sure.
To be honest with you, so Lancaster's probably about 15-20 minutes from downtown Dallas.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in Arlington, so I'm pretty familiar.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I'm
gotcha.
close by. Okay. Yeah. Let me. Oh man, I just pulled up the satellite image and I can see all the work that they were doing in the backyard once upon a time. Looks much better now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me run some numbers on it and see what kind of offer I can get you. As far as it looks vacant, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's vacant.
Okay. Yeah. I'll run
I'm
numbers.
actually heading over right now to put the. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'll just go ahead and run numbers on it today and see if I can schedule time to go out and take a look at it. I'm licensed, so I can go ahead and schedule it. Is it on Broker Bay or Showing Time?
It's gonna be on both.
It's on both. Okay, awesome. Yep, I'll take a look and schedule the time to go take a look at it, and if I like it, I'll send you an offer.
Sounds good. I'm gonna drop the lockbox off probably the next hour or so.
Awesome.
FYI.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm closing on the property in about an hour, so it'll be after that. But I appreciate it.
Okay, cool.
Right on,
Well,
brother.
thank you again.
No problem, Brandon. You have a good one.
All right, bye.
Bye bye. I like having agents in this register. Now I am going to change his status in here because I've got him as a hot seller lead. So I'm going to change him and move him to archive and tag him as an agent, which our archive folks still receive communications from us. I still want him to send me listings in the future. We work with a lot of other realtors. I'm going to go ahead and update his name also because I just had him as Yates. It's Brandon Yates. But a good guy. You see, that's the kind of agent that I would hire. Agents that are proactive, they get on the phone, they don't know who I am or what I am, but I said, I buy houses. And he said, I sell houses. And he put some dots and tried to connect some dots. So that's the kind of hustle I like to see. That's good salesmanship. So I'm going to go ahead and register. He was a contact. Make a note here to go take a look at his listing later today. After this next call, depending on whether or not they answer, I need to turn around and go put this link on Facebook.
Hello.
Yes, hi, is this Mr. Blaylock?
It is.
Hi, Mr. Blaylock, this is Chris. I'm sorry, you actually spoke with one of my colleagues about a year ago about your property on San Gabriel, and I just wanted to follow up with you and see if it was still in the cards to sell that one.
Well, at the moment, the house is worth $490,000. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you were looking for something like that.
Well, so I'm a licensed realtor and an investor. So really, whenever I'm reaching out to folks, what we're looking for is folks who may or may not be interested in selling, and then being able to go to them and present a few options, not just the, hey, here's a cash offer at a discount, or hey, all I know how to do is put a sign in the yard and show it for you. Really, it's more about seeing what your goals are, your plans. If a move isn't inevitable, then we want to reach out and see how we can help and help make the process smoother and easier for you. With that said, I do buy properties that are worth upwards of $490,000 all the time. It just really depends on the condition and how we can make it a win-win situation for you and me. Would you say if I hadn't called you today that you guys would be planning to make a move here sometime in the next 12 months?
Yeah, it may be possible.
Okay. What's kind of in the plans? What's in the works? Are you guys planning to relocate or?
It's possible.
Okay.
But I'm kind of like just waking up.
Okay.
I guess if you could, I can talk to you later or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry to wake you up. No worries. I know it's a little bit early, but is it okay if I make a note here if I don't hear from you by like mid of next week? I follow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Awesome.
sure.
Okay, Mr. Blaylock. I appreciate you. Get some rest. I'll talk to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and stick him on pause. I had somebody call me that I want to go ahead and call them back, just to make sure I'm not missing anybody. 65. But I also want to see who it was that called me before I call them back. Isn't that convenient? It was that buyer from yesterday that I passed over to Jackson. Now, it's not because I don't care, but it's because sometimes folks, we have to teach them how to treat us. And so, despite the fact that I was her original main point of contact, I don't work new buyers, new leads. Not because I don't want to, but because that's what I have a team for. So buyers tend to require a little bit more attention, a little bit more drive time, a little bit more work, and that's okay. It's not like I'm opposed to doing more work, but I'm at the stage in my career where I get to be a little bit more particular about who I take on, and so I do still work buyers, but it's by my choice and by referral mostly. So if you have someone you know that is looking to buy a home and you'd like them to reach out to the team, just know that I'll still oversee the process. I still maintain my standard of operation when my clients or when my agents show and take care of buyers. But as far as like brand new leads who come to us through our marketing channels, those buyers are going to go to my agents because it's important. I feel a responsibility to make sure the guys that go out on a limb with me trust me to keep them in business. I want to keep them busy. I want to make sure that they stay fed, and also offers opportunities for them to learn, hone their skills. And so I'm grateful to be able to choose who I work with. Now, with that said, any of the buyers that I've worked with here recently or in the last couple of years, just know if I helped you buy a house, it was out of love. It's because I love you and I wanted to make sure that you got the very best service. I love my dad. He came up with that. And so, again, I'm grateful. It's because of activities like this, staying consistent, staying on top of my marketing, talking to people, trying to solve problems for people as often as I can. That's what gives me the ability and the opportunity to choose and be selective with whom I work. So it's a unique opportunity. I encourage, if you're in a position where you feel like you have to work with every single client that comes and reaches out to you, there are times that people will reach out to me, and even if it's a situation that I would normally take them on, it's somebody I love, it's somebody I care about, someone who's come to me from someone who I love or care about, I can acknowledge pretty quickly that they are not a good fit for me, or I'm not a good fit for them. I'm not going to be able to service them and their needs. Quick example is a previous client who's looking to buy a property outside of my market area. Now, I can still service them, I can still help them because they're buying in the state of Texas, but it's not my main market area. And she's insistent, she's adamant that she wants to use me, but it does not come without me warning her and me trying to get her in contact with someone in that area who is as proficient in that area as I am in mine. And so I was fairly insistent myself, like, hey, let me connect you with a pro down in the Houston area, because that's not where I work, but I do know people down there that I would personally use if I was looking to buy down there. And back and forth, and she's proactive, headstrong, and really smart. So she just said, nope, I don't need that. What I need representation. I can find properties on my own, I can walk properties on my own, I can work the system. But she wants to have me represent her in the transaction. That's ultimately what's important to her, not the market expertise. She's comfortable brushing herself up on that market and doing what she needs to do to be able to make good, educated decisions in a market in which I can really offer her little to no advice. It's the agent representation that she's looking for out of me. And so I tried to turn her away. I tried to get her in contact with an agent that would be superior, in my opinion, for what she's looking to do, because I care about her, because she's a previous client that's been awesome to us. We've done multiple transactions with her, and she's law enforcement too, which I love being able to get behind and help and get the appropriate kind of representation, because ultimately she's keeping community safe, and she does a great job of it. So anyway, that's that soapbox for now. If you're working everybody that crosses your desk, chances are you're doing yourself a disservice and those people a disservice. Be selective. And the way that you afford to be selective is by being consistent with your marketing, consistent with your lead gen. So anyway, speaking of, let's move on to the next dial. My folks should be here in about 2 minutes, so hopefully we have some time to oh, right, that's what I wanted to do. Let's go ahead and share this on Facebook. Slow down, you crazy child, so ambitious for juvenile. You're so smart, tell me why you're still so afraid. I love that song. It's Vienna by Billy Joel. Never heard it before until recently, and it's probably one of the best songs I've heard him sing. So, play, sing, perform, whichever. This is Chris.
Hi, Chris. This is Angel with Dr. Cruz's office. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Give me 1 second, Angel.
Oh, sure. No problem.
I gotta mute something here real quick because I've actually got you on live stream on YouTube right now. So
Oh, okay.
there we go. Hi, Angel. Okay, tell me what you got.
Hi. Okay, so this will be quick.
Sure.
Wednesday, you're scheduled at 1 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Cruz has a surgery that's going to run a little over. Could you come in around 1:30 instead?
Yeah, I can do that. No problem.
Okay, great. All right. Well, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Wednesday.
You too. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was my my surgeon calling to reschedule my follow-up appointment from my operation last week. So just wanted to make sure that was nothing. There we go. That was my surgeon's office calling to reschedule my follow-up appointment for my operation last week. Just wanted to make sure that they weren't going to say anything sensitive medically. Probably not the best idea to share with the world, but it was fine. It would have been fine. I didn't have to turn off the volume for that. So day 5, coming on the back with some severe weather. Here. Some views. Sorry guys, it's nice and quiet right now. Caffeine hasn't really quite kicked in just yet either, so hopefully that'll kick in here in a minute and we'll get to talking. Oh, sounds like my people are here. I'm gonna get a knock on the door in about 10 seconds. Pardon me. Oh. Yep, there he is. I'm coming. Oh, live streaming some Legion right
You
now.
want me to tell them what's up, Lester?
I mean, if y'all are cool sitting in the dark, but pull up some chairs. Let's chat. What do you guys want to talk about?
Who sits over here?
Nobody right now, so free chairs. Bring them on over.
We just kind of swing by, stop by, because Gerardo also works at Rocky Lifting now too.
Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
kind of have the same path where like we started off.
Okay.
I've been actually watching my YouTube videos.
Oh,
I
nice.
hopped onto a few years to do the thing. Like, oh, it's nice little setup.
Oh, thanks, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, it's been cool. I mostly did it because I'm gonna go ahead and log out of this dialer here real quick.
Yeah. Dude, how's your surgery, dude? I know you said you what happened?
It was a hernia. It was a hernia. It was just an umbilical hernia. We ended up getting it all taken care of. My follow-up is this coming Wednesday. As a matter of fact, before I forget, 'cause no, I'm pretty ADD, so they just called me like 5 minutes ago to push my follow-up to 1:30 instead of 1. So if I don't change this on my calendar.
How'd you break your hernia?
I ended up, it was jujitsu.
Oh, really?
It's always jujitsu, bro.
So, I want to say it wasn't. I want to say it wasn't because I don't want people to like assume that like you can hurt yourself or like getting hurt is like common. It is, but like you could roll your ankle jogging, right? Like that's probably more common than injury in jiu-jitsu. In this case, from what I can tell, it was something that was like bound to happen with time. Like I had a weak spot, obviously in my in my belly button, in my umbilical area, and so it just got exacerbated because I was rolling with Oler. Who's like, he says he's 200. That dude's 225 all day. He's like 6'2", jacked. I'm like, come on, dude.
200.
Oh yeah, I'm like 190. Like you're out of here, way too big. And he's also a brown belt, so he's fairly advanced, and I just couldn't keep his knee off my belly, and so he was just driving all 225 pounds into maybe 2 square inches of surface area right below my sternum, and I couldn't get him off of me for like a whole round. And I had already had, I think, what was it, like a tiny little hernia, but nothing was poking out. But after that day, I ended up, coach gave me a hard time because I pressure tapped to a knee on belly. So it's not a submission, it's just like a pin, an uncomfortable one. But if you tap to that, it's kind of like, all right, dude, you gave up. Like and I did. I gave up because it hurt.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got surgery for it.
It justifies it, right?
It
It
justifies
makes me
it.
look a little bit less like a bitch, but but yeah, no. So that's kind of what ended up doing it, I think. Now, fortunately, I used that opportunity to immediately ask coach, hey, how do you get out of the knee on belly? And so after that, I learned something that was pretty neat. Ended up going with him again and was able to get him off. Pretty easy. So that was cool.
Dude, I got this app. I don't know what to tell you, but I got this. It was an ad, and I pretty much downloaded this app where it talks to you it walks through a flow chart on some different things.
I think I've seen that.
I was like,
you should send that to me.
I got you, bro.
I have too much stuff like that on my phone that I just underutilize, but yeah, I'd be interested.
Yeah, I was like, sometimes I'm getting stuck because you know how we have the matches in the middle now, and I just kind of record it. I'm like, fuck, I'm always stuck in this position. I'm always doing the same thing. If I really think about how I do certain moves or get out of certain positions,
right.
Opens up doors okay, if I can defend this position, what are the routes to get out of? I started thinking about that. I found the app and
you could actually
Google heard me and probably popped up ads. Hey, you might want to need this.
So,
I was like,
jujitsu theory, because you end up thinking about stuff, right? That's kind of what ends up happening is it kind of gets in your head and you start thinking about hey, how do I connect the dots? But I think a flowchart is actually a really appropriate way to describe it. It's if they do this, you have these 2 options. If they do that, you have these 2 options.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a route. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But it becomes really beautiful. If you think about really complex flowcharts, you can really. I mean, that's essentially what it is. A really advanced person is really just someone who has a ton of avenues and options. It ends up looking really
Chess player.
it is. Yeah, it's a hardcore chess player. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
It's kind of how I see business too.
Oh, it's everything.
Or even really real estate.
It's
the more you know, it's I can think about different ways to make money.
Oh man, there was something I was listening to yesterday. I wish I could remember. I'll remember it and I'll have to write it down because jiu-jitsu, real estate, business. I would say probably right around the time I started jiu-jitsu was when I realized this has cross applications to everything. Everything. It's just because it's one of those things that because it's so animalistic at its core, there's just something so very human about grappling because it's just really close contact, and it's highly positional. That you're like, oh, there's a really solid representation of like the way, and that way translates to everything.
Everything. Finances even.
Absolutely. Oh no, and I mean it. Like I really do think everything, like family life, like my marriage has improved from jujitsu, my business has improved from jujitsu. So yeah, interesting stuff.
It's crazy.
So you guys are both engineers,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
On, man.
So that's what I was saying. Like, cause like the reason why I was looking at it, obviously I got the duplex.
Yeah.
And then the whole mom thing, trying
Yeah.
to transfer. We figured it out, by the way. I talked to the attorney.
Good.
Or the state attorney, whatever.
A living trust.
She said do either living trust or
Yeah.
revocable death transfer or something like that.
Yeah.
She said that might, those
It's
two
like a ladybird deed.
pretty much the same avenue. She's like,
Yeah.
which whatever you want, let me know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna probably pick one pretty soon, but I think she
Well,
said
living trust is nice just because you don't have to wait till mom dies to transfer the trust, right? Like that's
Right,
kind of what
right.
like the and I'm sorry for saying it like
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
that's the reality of like
like this, like
That sounds
if
like.
you make money off of this, like as a real estate agent, like if people die, what happens?
No, as a matter of fact, I was actually having that conversation with my dad last night because I was basically giving him a hard time for not having all of his trust stuff set up yet.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about it, and he was like, I just asked him, I was like, hey, do you have your trust set up yet? He was like, no. I was like, so it's all in a will? He's like, yeah. I was like, fuck that. Don't do that to me. Like, don't do that to me, please. Like, I love him, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. I swear. It's still like,
And
it's what I do for a living. I run into stuff like this all the time,
All the time.
and it's it's always hectic. It's always crazy. Fortunately, like. It's just me and my brother. We have a really good relationship.
Yeah.
He works here as well, and so that I have every confidence in the world that like there wouldn't be much issue.
No.
But it like with a will, you still have to go to court.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You gotta hire someone, you gotta do all this paperwork.
And he's got properties. He's got real assets that
Yeah.
like. And multiple of them and high valuations on them. So it's like, okay, that would be
That's-
no joke. Like we
That's-
really have to solve some problems.
That's
there, so.
changed some lifestyle thing right there, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Like, yeah, so what I'll say, so on Fridays we don't work Fridays. As
Cool.
an engineer, we're like, we have offers, like, dude, we can use this time to like connect. I think I talked to Jackson a little bit. He said that you guys have like part-time positions available. Is that a thing, or how does that work?
so I
How
have
does that? Yeah, I'm just curious, like how this whole like.
I have like 2-3 people that kind of work here but don't work here, right? They're not licensed. What they do is I've essentially kind of given them some coaching, some access to some of the tools that we use that are kosher to give people that aren't licensed. Because a lot of what we do, like I can't give them access to like Forewarn or the MLS and stuff like that because they're proprietary to realtors, and the licensure is actually what protects those entities. So. Like I'd be in violation of a bunch of like rules and regulations to share those things, but there's a bunch of stuff that the public can do as far as like there's a lot of people who are in investment real estate that aren't licensed. Being licensed makes it way easier because you do get access to all these tools, the MLS and everything else. And so just from the perspective of like finding leads and being able to properly analyze them is like that's where licensure really gives us the leg up. And then also income opportunity, because there's a lot of times that I'm meeting with folks like if you boil down what my job really is, it's to find motivated sellers, right? Like at the end of the day, real estate investments, at least from our perspective, is finding good deals via motivated sellers who have some type of problem that they need to solve, some type of situation that they're in where I can kind of come in and make an exchange where they're taking a discount, but I'm providing a service or a facility that makes it worth it to them. There's some properties that are just not suited for the market. I bought one a month ago rather, that it was mom and dad's house, 5 brothers, bunch of liens, one brother's in jail, the other brothers have a whole bunch of child support liens, the house has been vacant, and actually had a drug addict squatter living in it with a big pit bull. They were having a hard time evicting her. Like, even if we wanted to put that thing on the market, it wasn't gonna do well. We couldn't, like, exactly, yeah. Like, we'd get somebody shot trying to show that house. And so, this is a purchase that came about because of that house. Oh no, I'm dead serious. Like, I've got a really good picture of it. Like, we went to the property. It was supposedly vacant. The brothers had been communicating with the squatter
Yeah.
and basically told her like, hey, they had filed the eviction, won the eviction, but hadn't followed through all the way with the process because they're like, hey, we don't have to pay the extra $200, $300 for the writ of possession to get the constable out because she's agreed, she knows, she's done. So they called me and said, hey, she's out, you can go ahead and get a locksmith over there because that was the plan. Like the minute she's out, we're gonna secure the property. Show up on 2 or 3 different occasions, same story. She's supposed to be out, she promised she was out. She's there, has like a 120-pound pit bull. Thank God, it's the sweetest thing in the world. But the first thing that thing ran up on me, I pooped myself. And so, so I meet with strangers for a living. It does kind of like, I've been doing this for almost a decade, and like, I don't know how many houses I've been to, how many appointments I've been on, that I called my wife afterward and said like, really should have had my gun. Like, I really should have had a gun on me. I really should have had my gun, and it was just like, it was a problem. So, but yeah, so at the end of the day, my job is really just to find motivated sellers, find people who need my help, who I can provide a solution for, and that typically facilitates some type of exchange where I can buy a property for a discount that makes it a winning situation for me, and then also I'm providing them a service or making something easy for them, and so they're willing to take the discount. Everybody knows when I buy a property from them that they're leaving money on the table, and I explicitly tell them like, hey, could you make more money in another situation? Yes. Do those other situations, are they typically realistic? And sometimes, like, there's some folks who will selectively hit the easy button and take a cash offer because they just don't want to put their house on the market. Like, met with somebody yesterday, beautiful house, 6 bedrooms. I'm recommending that they go on the market for like $425, $450.
Yeah.
But they got animals. They don't really want to do any repairs.
Yeah.
There's plenty of equity in that house. Like, what would you buy it for? We'd rather go that direction. Like, what would you just buy it for? I was like, it's going to be a big discount.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, they would prefer to do that. And so you do get folks who just choose the easy button as an option.
Right.
So at that point, you just go with the easy option, or do you like still?
Oh yeah, no, I'll definitely encourage people to do what I think is the best option for them, just after talking and getting a good idea of their goals. And I say this to people a lot. It's one of my favorite things to tell people. But like, my job is not to twist their arm and make them do something that doesn't make sense for them. My job is to give them as much information and as many options as I possibly can, and then from there they can make an informed business decision that's right for their family. And so to bring that all the way back around, that's where being licensed helps. Because there's a lot of people I'll meet with where if you're licensed, most realtors know how to do one thing: retail transactions. They can put a sign in the yard, put in the MLS, do open houses, field offers, etc. We just discussed that's not always the best fit for people. Sometimes in the MLS, the traditional retail process actually won't benefit them at all. It will actually be a pretty significant downside. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, unlicensed investors, same thing. I said that they're hammers and the whole world's a nail. They know how to do one thing, which is just come in and make a discounted offer. And so now we can talk about buying from wholesalers in a minute, but for the most part, we work all of our deals directly to the seller. We actively source these people through like active marketing and passive marketing, meaning we'll send out marketing and let people respond to us. And then everything is simple, just like talking to people. Hey, who do you know? You'd be amazed, like everybody's a prospect. Everybody probably has some real estate in their family that maybe some point they may get left with. I say birth, death, marriage, and divorce are inevitable. They happen regardless of market conditions, and almost all of them create some type of real estate transaction.
Yeah, you want to sell us?
I mean, like that's what happens. And so, but like legitimately, there are actually investors who are like multi-million-dollar net worth off of just like side realization that like, hey, I can just talk to people I already know, people who are already in my sphere of influence, and just tell them like, hey, I'm getting into real estate investing. If you have a deal that you know about, let me know. And so being licensed allows me to give people all of those options. If I was just an investor, retail would be off the table. Being just a realtor, then most of the time investments are off the table unless I have someone like me who I work with as a client that I can bring cash offers to my folks with. So that's the benefit of licensure, is that pretty much anybody who's motivated to sell, I can assist and earn an income off of. Mm-hmm. And so that's where licensure helps, is it opens up the income opportunities to the full gamut. Now, we do buy from wholesalers, so meaning these are people who go specifically purchase a home, right? Sign a contract, that they leave as assignable, and they essentially sell their position in the contract to someone else and never take title. They never close on it. The property never truly becomes theirs. But in the state of Texas, we have what's called oh gosh, I wish I could. I'm having a brain fart. Interests. Anyway, when you have a contract to purchase a property, the seller really doesn't have a way to terminate, which means that you essentially hold the interest in the property. Even though you don't have title, you're the only person that has the ability to buy it or sell it.
Okay.
Right? The seller can't sell it anymore. You, as the buyer, when you have the contract, are the only person who has control of that property from then on. And so the contract even dictates, like, they can't make improvements, they can't make unguaranteed repairs, things like that. So, you know, having a contract on the property gives you a lot of sway.
Yeah.
And so that's where wholesaling comes in, and that's where a lot of people get started in real estate investments. I got started in real estate investments by doing wholesaling, which is essentially where you go in, you assess sellers' needs, assess their goals, write a contract that is a winning contract for them. Remind me in a second, I want to call Jackson. He's not normally late.
Yeah, he's.
No. He's not normally late, and he's got like a brand new
Yeah.
C8. So like, I'm a little bit concerned about his safety. So if he doesn't show up in like the next 10 minutes, remind me to call him. So anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Again, a little ADD.
I'm good.
About the contract.
Yeah. So I'll have to remember what the word is, but it's, yeah, essentially having the contract on the property gives you the right to sell it, gives you the right to sign it. I do like to let people know if I'm going to be selling their contract, because what most wholesalers will do is they'll go, yeah, I'm your buyer, I'm your buyer, I'm your buyer. And then they turn around and sell the contract and actually had never any intention of buying the house or even the ability to buy the house.
Wait, so they do what? They get the contract and they just.
Sell the contract.
Oh, like as if you were to sell the contract to someone else?
Yeah, so good example is a property that Jackson bought towards the end of last year. It ended up closing in like at the beginning of February, where we went and met with the sellers. They had a number in mind. They really just wanted to make $100,000 on the deal. And that left enough money on the table for us to be able to go find another buyer for it who would take title, close on it, actually do the rehab that the house needed, and then turn around and either turn it into a rental or put it back on the market and sell it for a profit. So essentially if you think about any deal has so much profit on the bone, what wholesalers do is essentially they eat a little bit of the meat off, but leave enough that it's still a good deal for another investor. And so you transfer your interest in the contract to that other investor for a markup. In that case, we bought it for 100, and the point at which it was still profitable for someone else, but to the point where it was still profitable for someone else was about 150,000. And so the sellers knowingly and electively left $50,000 on the table because they liked us, they trusted us, they wanted to get out of it, we were helping them get into their next situation, and so it was a win-win, and we managed to sell that contract for $150,000. So we had the contract at 100, we sold the contract at 150, and we make the difference. So that was a $50,000 net, or gross, but and then our team structure is 50-50, so in that situation, Jackson made $25,000.
And so you also helped them. Buy a new house as well.
So in their situation, they actually ended up not buying a new house because it made more sense for them to pay off their debts, take the remaining, and kind of restructure for a little bit. But we did connect them with the lender who will eventually become their mortgage lender, and come up with that game plan. Yeah. And so, yes, the original intention was, hey, we're going to help you buy something else. Jackson was showing them properties. We got into the mortgage process and realized, like, hey, turning around and buying something isn't the best scenario, but their house was falling apart. They'd been living in it for 3 years with no heater. They didn't have the capital available to them. They made good income, but their cost of living was so high that they couldn't ever make improvements to their house. So they were kind of in this like rock and hard place. Yeah. And then their debts also prevented them from being able to go and get a line of credit to be able to do any of this stuff. So they were able to pay off all their debts, save a nest egg, go rent something. Their credit will probably build right back up because all those debts will be gone in about 6 months to a year, and then they'll try again to purchase at that point. So same deal. Like that was a win-win situation for both of us.
Solve the problem.
Yeah.
As a real estate agent, it's a lot of market conditions that, in their situation.
Yep.
And now take it. Yeah, you're offering a service.
Yeah. Yep. The thing you have to be careful with wholesaling is if you go in and technically only licensed realtors can buy and sell real estate.
Okay.
So what that means is you can't go in and say, hey, I'm going to lock out this contract for X and then I'm going to go find you a buyer.
Right.
Now you're an agency, right? You're finding them a buyer. What you do is you essentially have to, if you're going to wholesale, either find the people who are looking to purchase properties. People who buy and flip properties very rarely buy them directly from the seller. They do occasionally when they have the opportunity to, but most of them actually buy them from wholesalers. People who spend their time marketing direct to the consumer, collecting these deals, and then people who are in the business of full-time flipping properties, buying rehab properties, they actually have connections through wholesalers. People who flip properties typically don't do much, if any, direct to seller marketing at all. And so the we buy houses, we buy ugly houses, hey, we want to buy your house cash, all that kind of stuff, 95% of those people are wholesalers. They actually have no intention from the beginning of actually closing on the property. But that doesn't mean that they're being dishonest. What they're doing is they're actually providing a service to the seller and to the end buyer, because the end buyer doesn't want to market directly to the consumer. It's time consuming, it's difficult, and it's a different skill set than construction and rehab and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so we're pretty unique, and I've actually modeled my business after another one of my mentors along the way. And even his name's Nathan, and we've done deals together, but even they buy all of their deals now almost exclusively from wholesalers. Sometimes they'll get lucky, and because of their reputation and being in the business for so long, somebody will reach out to them and say, hey, we have this property that we need to sell, will you just buy it from us?
Yeah.
But that's the offshoot, that's the outlier. Most of their deals, they're getting brought to them from wholesalers that do that kind of work for them. And so that's why I say like that wholesaling is just one little piece of it. It just tends to be the piece that most people like to get into because it typically requires little to no capital up front. Hey, Dad.
Is that?
Yep, that's my dad. Dad, Michael, and
in the dog?
Yeah.
Gerard.
Hey, how you doing?
Gennaro.
Same here. Nice to meet you.
Gerardo.
Gerardo, I'm sorry. We've got an old mechanic, his name was Gennard. I always kept calling him.
He wasn't an old mechanic. He was a mechanic we used to work with.
That's what I meant. Yeah. But this is my dad and my broker and my business partner and my boss and all that kind of stuff, all of the above. So.
You're my boss.
Um,
Hello to you.
But I trained jiu-jitsu with Michael. He's a mutual friend of me and Jackson. This is his friend, Gerardo. They work at Lockheed and they're looking to get into real estate. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Heard something like
Here doing
As
some.
our housekeeper used to call it, Lucky Martin.
Lucky
Lucky Martin. Go Lucky Martin. Lucky Martin.
Lucky Martin.
I
So,
heard that one.
excuse me, I'm getting distracted by Robinhood notifications.
Oh, some stock shit.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'll take that. I love the nice vertical line straight up. Yeah, I'll take that.
No. It dried up.
Clear
Yeah,
up.
it's still wet. But
Yeah, my 9:15 this morning actually pushed to next week because he was worried about me driving in the weather. Isn't that sweet?
oh,
Yeah, I know. I'm cool with it. That means I get to spend a little bit more time with these guys.
there you go.
The notary is going to be here at 11 to close Longfield. Just a heads up.
Okay, yeah.
Cool.
I got an appointment in Bedford at 11, so.
Okay, cool. So you miss him.
Okay.
All right, love you. Have fun.
As we said,
See you guys again.
Oh, nice. You stood up and everything. What a gentleman.
So, question.
Yeah.
So, like, does it feel like y'all primarily deal with just buying wholesale houses?
No, so we typically do almost 100% of what we do direct to seller, and that's just because our business model being licensed. Yeah, because we're licensed, we get those extra opportunities, we get the better deals. Obviously, when you buy from a wholesaler, the wholesaler is making some profit, so you as the end buyer are leaving money on the table to buy from the wholesaler.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Most end buyers don't really care how much the wholesaler makes, so long as the deal that they're buying is still a deal for them.
Yeah.
Right, so those end buyers are still required to do their own analysis. They still need to make sure that they're buying something that's going to be profitable. I've seen some wholesalers that make, that $50,000 wholesale assignment, not incredibly common, but you do see it. I would say like our average assignment when we were doing primarily wholesaling was somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000. And that, keep in mind, the people that would be willing to buy that property for that price aren't marketing directly to the seller. the seller likely would never come across them if only by accident. So even though the seller's leaving money on the table and the end buyer's leaving money on the table, those two people were not likely to meet one another. So that's the service the wholesaler provides, is being able to be that middle person and create that transaction. So the number of deals that we wholesale compared to close on at the beginning was about 15%, 85%, meaning we closed on about 15% of the contracts that we executed, and the other 85% we sold off. Primarily out of necessity, right? Because there's almost only so much working capital that we had at any one time. Once you buy a property, you're kind of like all the capital that you have in that property is locked up until you sell it. The turnaround time on houses is typically like 4 to 6 months plus, depending on the size of the project, everything in it, et cetera. So there was a limitation to how many deals that we could close on at any one time, but we're still marketing heavily directly to sellers. So we're still coming across deals. We can still provide solutions to sellers. So we're still contracting pretty much every deal that we can contract.
Right.
But when we started, we were closing on very few of them. And we were being very selective because we were limited by our working capital. Goal by the end of this year is to flip that and close on 85% of the deals that we want. And there will always be some properties that doesn't matter what the deal is, we wouldn't take title to it in a million years. Jackson has 2 on the board right now, and it's a really good example. It's a empty lot in Oak Cliff next to what is essentially a tear down property in Oak Cliff. The empty lot, we want. We're taking title to that. The other property is a tear down and high risk of like squatters. The property itself needs a tremendous amount of rehab, which is kind of out of our scope of our normal project, but they're selling it as a package. So we're buying the package because it creates a discount, solves the problem, everything that they need, and we're selling off the contract for the house that we would never want to buy in a million years, but we know people who do buy projects like that, who are interested in projects like that. So yeah, we're looking to kind of flip that script, and we're doing that a couple of different ways. We've introduced private money lending, and so people actually bring capital to us. We pay them fixed interest, like at 10% on average. So most people are just bringing us capital, keeping it on deposit with us, or securing it into properties, and that's allowed us to scale more effectively because now we're not working on just our working capital. We're working with private money who they're getting 10% interest only annual APYs. So like for them, there's not really a better place to park cash. Nothing's going to really give you 10% passive on the marketplace. Yeah, no, and stocks are stocks, right? So they're volatile. Real estate is relatively non-volatile. It's actually pretty stable. So the likelihood that you buy a stock that pays you 10% dividends and holds its value long-term without major fluctuations is pretty low. Versus putting it into a real estate asset or a real estate project that's going to maintain its value, if not increase it, because you can go and add value to it by repairing it, rehabbing it, etc. And then also have it pay dividends of 10%. It's kind of difficult to do. Now, they trade that security for interest only, meaning they don't have equity in the house. They only get interest in that private money situation. And so that's private money. We also have hard money, which most people aren't familiar with. Hard money, to the layman, looks like a loan shark. They essentially broker private money at scale, and they finance real estate rehab projects. They charge interest only, short-term loans, typically double-digit interest, somewhere between 12 and 15%. I'm closing on one today at 12%. They charge an origination fee, which is what's different between hard money and private money. Private money, there is no cost of transfer, right? They're not earning a commission, they're just getting their interest, right? So they don't charge me a fee to move it from their bank account into my bank account. Hard money does. They charge an origination fee, and that's how they make their money. They make their money because the money that they're brokering, they charge a commission on. So they make their money at closing whenever they lend us the money, and they're also making they're also charging us a higher interest rate than the interest rate that they're giving back to the private money investor who lent them the money to broker in the first place. So they're charging us 12, 13%, giving their underlying investor somewhere between like 7 and 10%, making the spread, and then they also charge origination points at the beginning. If you want, I can actually show you the term sheet.
So I just wanted just to recap. So
Sure.
y'all buying the house, or y'all buying the 2 properties combined. And the one y'all want, y'all are selling that for, y'all selling the contract. Y'all make the difference of what y'all purchase the contract for.
Yep.
And then the first house, you're just gonna maintain it and
The lot, we're gonna close on and relist.
relist. Okay, so y'all
Yeah, we'll take title, that'll be our property, we're actually gonna relist it.
and sell it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we still buy most things with the intention of selling it relatively quickly.
Gotcha.
There are very few deals
Do y'all do a repair though? Or do y'all?
Raw land? No, it depends. Some
Oh,
raw-
it's just a piece of land?
It's just an empty lot. Yeah, it's just an empty lot, which is why, like, same neighborhood, literally next door neighbors, one's high risk, one's zero risk.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to squat on an empty lot. Now, you might get a little campground or whatever, but that's pretty easy to, you don't have to evict them. You just call the cops and, hey, there's somebody trespassing on my property.
Right.
Texas has weird laws when it comes to doors and locks. If somebody moves in, changes the locks, the minute they do that, they're squatter and you have to evict them. They actually have rights to the property in the state of Texas. So, right, even though they never had a lease, never paid any rent, never had any formal agreement, they moved in, changed the locks, turned the utilities on in their name, even if they didn't, they have rights to that property in the state of Texas.
How many utilities in your name?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think my lights on. Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some municipalities are cracking down on it. There's some cities where you can't get water turned on unless you have a lease or the deed or anything like that. But depending on where you're at, the neighborhood, everything else like that, yeah, you can get utilities turned on. It's kind of surprising. There's I wouldn't call them underground providers because we use them, but what they are is they're essentially just like cheap, fast, easy, like we'll turn your lights on in 20 minutes kind of service providers. So, but either way, yeah. So squatters have rights. So in an area where we're concerned about high crime, concerned about squatters, we try not to take title to those properties. We'll typically sell them. But properties that have gone through the eviction process, like the one on Decorah I was telling you about, that particular property, they had already formalized the eviction. There's already a constable in play. So now we actually had, like, if you call the cops, somebody moves into your property and you call the cops, they'll do nothing. They'll tell you, hey, this is a civil matter. You need to file an eviction, everything else. Once you have the eviction and the writ of possession, now it's enforceable. Now the constable can come in and make sure that nobody moves into that property for a certain duration of time. And so, anyway, yeah, we can get really heavy into the weeds into like all the different situations. But yeah, in this situation with the properties that I'm telling you about, we are buying the empty lot and selling off the other contract because that's the business model that we move forward with. They're just some projects that we'll never take title to. And so that's where that 85-15 comes. We're still trying to close on the majority of what we come across. And everything else we'll sell off effectively.
What's y'all's like method right now? Like obviously getting your license and then coming to work. So what's y'all's like method of outreach in terms of like whenever you just cold call people? And
that's a good start.
Email marketing.
Yeah, it's a good start. So that's what I've been doing. So email marketing, yes, somewhat. It's probably like the least effective of what we do.
Oh, you might want to call Jackson.
Yeah. Hey Siri, call Jackson Wu. I'm hoping he just has an appointment, but yeah, a little bit worried about him in that new car.
I know. I saw. I was like, man,
it's a sick car,
yeah.
but I'm worried about him. So last thing I need that dude to do is go crash that thing.
On the radio.
I mean, it's like a freaking like 2017 or 2018 C8 Corvette. Like, the thing is a monster. Don't know how it handles in the rain. I imagine fine, but really don't know. There's a lot of low end torque whenever you kind of mess with the coefficient of friction on the ground, adds a little bit of water, and like, yeah, man, that might be a problem. I'm hoping he's just sleeping, but he's almost never awake. So.
Please leave your message for
What's that?
He said Michael Jordan was? Alright.
Yeah, right?
We'll do it.
I mean, we saw our pale out as well. Friendly,
Yeah,
but I don't know if that.
Just hilarious. His truck just went out ahead.
It just started spitting out.
And he just started spinning as soon as he started driving.
Yeah, man. It's funny. I think it's funny that y'all are engineers, and we always had a little bit of like a head-to-head because it was a physics major in college, and so it was like always me. Like pretty much my like first couple of years at college was like everybody in my classes was an engineering major. I was the only one that was a physics major.
Oh, physics class?
Yeah. My physics classes and my calculus classes. I think you guys took slightly different math than I did.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, my bad. I'm not trying to blow you up. I'm trying to make sure you're okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't need an explanation. I just want to make sure you're okay. Okay, you're good. See you a little bit. Yeah, that's okay.
He's good.
Yeah, he's good. I think he might have been celebrating his mom's birthday yesterday, which is fine. But okay, make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. All right.
So I'll do a call.
Yep. Yep. So we'll call. Email is pretty rare. We do some mass texting as well. We use a tool called SlideText for that. The regulations on that are starting to crack down on us just as they tighten up. You guys, I'm sure, receive a lot of like spam text messages and stuff like that.
Starting to get kind of crazy with it.
It is getting kind of crazy, and so a lot of it is scams, and that's what they're trying to crack down on. People like us, we don't harass people, we don't like blow people up or anything like that. It's typically it's typically just like a one-time reach out. They have the opportunity to opt out and stop, scrub against the DNC, make sure that we're following all the regulations. But for the most part, that I have a feeling is going away. So text marketing is relatively new. We just kind of put it into action in the last couple of years, and it's starting to fade. So old school marketing is cold calling, word of mouth, door knocking. Like it's sending out mailers, which is a little bit more advanced. Robotic voicemails, which it's not really robotic as much as it is a.
This is just like a call.
Yeah, it's basically a call, and I pre-record a voicemail, so it's my voice. I am reaching out to them, and I send it to them. Same company that owns SlideText we use. It's called Slide Broadcast. And again, same concept. We don't harass people. We don't blow them up. If they ask us to take off their list, we do. We scrub against the DNC, et cetera, et cetera. But essentially what that does is it allows us to communicate with the masses and then field the people who have immediate interest. But from there, we have a CRM tool, which we pay for leads as well, which you can do with like Facebook marketing. We use Google Ads and Facebook marketing primarily that feeds our CRM. And those are leads that just fill out interest forms, and then their information goes into our CRM and we follow up with them. So the last couple of days that I've been on here, those are actually people who filled out an interest form, a combination of people who filled out an interest form, and then I also have a call center that calls for me that they're based out of Egypt and Costa Rica. And so those are by contract only.
So we just making sure y'all do word of mouth, and then y'all knock on doors.
Yeah. So like Andy Jackson's cousin was out knocking on doors this week, and he got a couple of leads that way. You could also do what's called driving for dollars, which is pretty common in the public real estate investment side, which is literally just like you drive through neighborhoods, and if you see someone who looks like they haven't mowed their grass in 3 years, and the trees falling in, and there's no way anybody's living there, that typically is a really strong sign of motivation. Those people probably see that house as a problem. Right? That house is not giving them anything. And you know, as an example, there's a lead that I got recently from a friend of mine, and again, like word of mouth. This is my plumber, one of my best friends. He's like, hey, my parents' next door neighbor was a rental property, and they just reached out to the sellers, and the sellers had no idea that the dude that was living there, A, was still there, B, was in the hospital, and C, let the property go to absolute shit. They rented that property out 5 years ago, moved to California, and just didn't think anything of it. Thought that dude moved out 6 months ago. Turns out, no, he's still there, just not paying rent. They're sending me videos of like there's rats in the window. I mean, like the house is seriously distressed because the tenant just let it go to crap while the property owners were out of state.
So how do they just not care? I mean, it seems like they didn't care about the property either, right? They just
it's not that they didn't care, it's that they just were busy. You'd be amazed. There's a lot of people who are accidental landlords, meaning like they had to move. They didn't need to sell in order to make the move happen, but and for whatever reason, couldn't or chose not to sell at that time, keep it as a rental or whatever, and we call it accidental landlord. You end up with a property that you didn't buy or have the intention of keeping as a rental, but there it is. Now really the only thing that makes sense is to rent it out, and those people tend to struggle because unintentionally becoming a landlord typically means that you're not really prepared or educated to deal with tenants, what being a landlord can be.
So for what Jackson's cousin does, like, do you need to have a license
to knock on doors? No. So what knocking on doors is essentially just kind of being your own bird dog and going and seeing an opportunity and knocking and just trying to strike a deal with the person that's there to say like, hey, like, I'm interested in this house. You don't have to be licensed to be a principal in the transaction, right? You can buy property for yourself. And so that doesn't require a license. What you need a license for is to knock, like, here are the two differences. hi, my name's Chris. I'm interested in your house. How much would you sell it to me for? And
Right, just a random question.
hi, my name's Chris. Are you interested in selling your property? I think I can help you sell it. It's
Mm.
the help. You can't help people do anything
Because-
if you're not licensed, because that's agency. But you can buy the house. You can be a principal in the transaction.
Oh, I see. So he just gives you the lead, and I guess he gets.
So Andy's licensed.
Oh, okay.
He's recently licensed though. Before that, yeah, you could door knock as an unlicensed person. It's just what you say, what you communicate, and what you offer have to be different,
Gotcha.
right? You can't offer agency if you're not licensed. My dad actually overheard him before his license came active, and he was making phone calls and actually heard a conversation where it sounded a little too close to agency, what he was talking about. Whatever, and just had to re-explain that difference because it is a fine line, but it's a pretty bold line. Like you have to be careful because you definitely don't want to.
It pivoting to what you're actually offering.
It's the equivalent of driving on the road without a real estate license,
Right.
or without a driver's license. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So TREC is the governing body for real estate licenses. The Department of Public Safety is the governing body for driver's licenses, right? Who does the DPS? What is your license? Does your license protect you?
License?
Your driver's license. What does your driver's license do for you? Why do you have it? Why do they make you have one?
Identity protection from.
So it is a form of identification, but that's not why they give it to you. Why is it they require a driver's license? Is it to protect you?
Pretty sure it's to protect people around.
It's to protect the public. It's to ensure that everybody on the road driving a vehicle meets a certain standard, and that standard is enforced and regulated by the DPS. TREC does the same thing. They license realtors not to protect realtors. TREC does not protect me. They protect the public from me.
Right.
They are the enforcement for real estate law in Texas, right? So the only way that they can regulate me is if I'm licensed. If I don't have a license, they really can't regulate me. They can't regulate my activity, but it also means that I'm kind of operating outside of the law, so to speak.
Yeah, you're
So-
yep.
Now, those laws still apply to the public, but they only can be enforced on licensees. And so, yes, TREC protects the public, not the licensee.
So in Jackson's cousin's case, how would you? I guess how does would it be still be considered like 50-50 if
Yeah.
he's getting leads?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. We've got one of my guys that works with me, not for me, right? Because that's the difference. Is the people that work kind of on the side. Essentially, what they're doing is they're functioning as bird dogs, right? They're going and they're finding leads, and I become their real estate resource. I essentially become their realtor,
Mhm.
and we go in and we negotiate a contract. I help them run their analysis. I give them some feedback and an idea of what it is, like the property is worth and what we can buy it for, etc. They secure the contract and I help them sell it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. And so in that situation, yes, the 50-50 comes, the 50-50 on the team, that's our team structure for licensees anyway. The 50-50 structure on the outside is actually what's considered a joint venture. That's a joint venture partnership where they bring the lead, they bring the deal, and I help bring that deal to fruition. And that's what justifies the 50-50 on the outside, on the non-licensed people who work with us. And we have plenty of bird dogs. I've got people who bring me leads that I almost always, so as a licensed person, if someone were to bring me a retail client, TREC says I can only pay them something of a non-cash gift with a value of up to $50. But if I'm the principal in the transaction and I'm buying the deal, there is no limitation to how much I can say thank you to someone in cash.
Right.
And so those deals, the 50-50 partnership is really just what I pay as a bird dog fee. So I'm not really paying them in a joint venture structure. I'm paying them a bird dog fee of like, hey, thank you. It's honestly pretty generous. Most bird dogs pay about $1,500, but I invest in these guys as well. Like I'm showing them the ropes. I'm getting them up on their 2 feet, showing them how to analyze deals with public tools, which is not particularly easy to do. And then obviously, of course, I come in and I check their math. But yeah, so I essentially pay a 50% bird dog fee to the people who cooperate with us. But they are not employees, they're not 1099 contractors. What we end up paying them at the end of the day is a bird dog fee. And so we actually look for bird dogs that aren't part of our cooperative structure, meaning like I'll get calls from people that says like, hey, I'm looking for work, I'm a painter, blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell them like, you go find me a house, I'll buy it and let you do the work to it. right? And so I'm not giving them any equity in the deal, but I am guaranteeing like some type of job or something like that for them. Same deal, the friend that brought me that lead, unfortunately it doesn't sound like that deal's gonna close because the sellers, it's one of the things you realize, distressed properties, there's typically a reason they're distressed. It sounds like these people are pretty indecisive and they're not really willing to take action on things that make sense. And so that indecisiveness has kind of gotten them where they are today, and that's going to kind of keep them on that path, unfortunately. But like if that deal closed, like he's my best friend, depending on how much money I made on the deal, I might pay him $1,000, I might pay him $5,000, you know. And so, but probably wouldn't give him half of the deal because I'm not training him, I'm not giving him any access to tools. He literally just knows I buy houses and brought a deal to me. And I would say thank you in an appropriate manner. I don't think anybody would be upset if I gave them a $5,000 check.
Right.
But I'm not offering him equity in the deal. I'm not offering half of the structure. Now, same situation, if you were to come to me and say, hey, I have this deal, I want to buy it, I don't know what I'm doing, will you partner with me on it? That's different, right? That's a JV structure. Then we work out, okay, now we're going to need someone to run the project. We're going to have to arrange contractors. Who's going to bring the financing? Are we going to split the financing? Who's paying for materials and labor, etc.? And then we put together like a JV structure, joint venture structure. But that's different than just, hey, here's an address, you should buy it because it's across the street from my parents and I would rather you buy it and take care of it so that we can protect their neighborhood and maintain the maintain the neighborhood rather than see this continue to do what it's doing or worse, go to another investor who may not have the same intentions as me.
So in our position, would we be kind of like
Your call.
the latter then, or?
No. Well, it depends. Like if you wanted to, yeah, we could structure something like that if you went to go find a deal and we like JV on it. Yeah, absolutely.
That's assuming we have our licenses, right?
No. The license prevents you from offering agency and performing agency. So if you bring me a deal that ends up turning into a listing, I can give you a non-cash gift of up to $50. But if you bring me a deal that ends up turning into a fix and flip that we buy and do the work to, and you're going to help me manage the project and you're going to be in the property and I'm going to walk you through what to do, that's a 50-50 structure, right? So there's 4 parts to a deal. There's the deal itself, there's the financing, there's the construction, and the experience, right? Most of the time, when someone brings me a deal, that's 25%, and they want to go JV on it, they typically have to manage the project and the construction, meaning they bring their own crews, you have to go find the subcontractors, I'm going to walk you through it and get quotes and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, like, typically my guys are busy. Like, you know, I'm having a hard time, I need more contractors, and so if you were to go and find, in this case, my main guy's name is Gustavo, if you go find another Gustavo and people that can work with him and do his quality work, by all means, and that's typically the 50-50 that we work at. So like Caleb, who's my friend, if you were to bring me a deal, he's in plumbing, he has plenty of subcontractors, he knows plenty of people who are talented workers. Speaking Spanish is a huge bonus, just a heads up.
You're lacking, bro.
I'm not gonna lie, man, like really, speaking Spanish has made a world of difference when it comes to construction.
Vietnamese, bro?
What about
I don't know, man.
I get to go with both.
So here's the thing. I will say the Vietnamese community is incredibly tight knit. Like it is, I personally don't market to the Vietnamese community at all. Because, and this is not stereotypical, I think you could probably reaffirm this, but if I'm talking to a Vietnamese person, their realtor is Vietnamese. Their contractors are Vietnamese. Their lender is Vietnamese. Their insurance agent is Vietnamese. And not because they don't want to work with non-Vietnamese people, but because that community is pretty self-sustaining.
Yeah.
They have their own network of people. They try and keep it in their own network of people because it's cultural, it's just culturally very smooth to keep it all inside of that community.
Yeah, my cousin's the same way where like she's South Asian.
Yep.
And her cousin became a realtor.
Yeah.
And you know, I went to their realtor and there's a bunch of South Asians and they work with primarily only South Asians.
Yep. Yeah.
Just the way it is.
It is, and that there's a lot of cultures that are like that.
Yeah.
And in those situations, again, it's not stereotypical. It's just like guy came up on. They have a guy. Yeah, they have a guy. Like I talked to a guy yesterday whose name was Dat Tran, and the minute it came up, I talked to him, and he instantly was just like not about our conversation. He's like, hey, I want to buy your house from you, and he's like pretty much came up and he's like, I'm not gonna work with you. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, no worries. That's totally fine. I totally get it.
So you mentioned the 4 structures for the deal, or
yep.
The deal?
Yeah. So, and this is typically how we split the joint venture, right? So, like, if all I'm bringing to the deal is my experience, right? Basically, you're going to do everything. You're going to finance it. You're going to manage the project and construction. You found the deal yourself, and all I'm doing is answering a phone call and walking you through the process. It's typically 25%, right? But that experience is pretty valuable because that tends to be the biggest thing that most people have the hiccup on. It's easy to find a hard money lender. There are plenty. Knowing whether they're a good deal or not, that's experience.
Yeah.
Finding contractors, there are plenty. You could go to the racetrack up on Cooper, and there's plenty of people looking for work, but the experience to know whether or not that person's going to rob you, know what they're doing, etc. That's the experience. And then the deal itself, some people get lucky and it falls in their lap, right? I know plenty of people. I got one guy who I've sold plenty of houses to. His name's RV, and I have no idea how this dude comes across deals the way he comes across deals. Now, we haven't flipped or done any projects with one another, but he typically finds deals and just passes them over to me. And he just has the most bizarre ability to just talk to people and kind of get out of them their needs, their wants, the things that are like on their back, and find deals that way. But everybody has income opportunity. If you want, we can do a little bit of cold calling while you're here, and you can kind of hear what I say to people, because I've got some leads that are fresh, that I haven't reached out to, and you can even see if you wanted to turn the corner. I'll show you some of these text messages.
Sorry, just make sure, is that deal financing, finding contractors and experience?
Do you mind picking that up for me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure what.
It's a picture of my kid. It's because I put it back up there. I took it down to show somebody. Yeah, the tape's messed up. If you want to just give it to me, I'll just tape it back up later. That's how I do everything. I guess tape on the wall. I got this over here. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, the four main components of every deal are the deal itself. So just sourcing the deal, construction, financing, and experience. Right. And typically, when we structure a joint venture, it's typically bringing some combination of the four. I'll tell you, if I have the deal, because I have access to these other three, I typically don't JV. That's why I don't JV, right? Like I don't JV on deals that I source, because I source them. I know how to do it, start to finish. I have access to construction. I have access to financing. I have access to the experience because it's my experience. So that's what lets me stand on my own 2 feet, and I don't split my stuff with anybody other than my dad, because he's my broker and my boss. So he gets a 30% override of everything I do. Because I'm the general manager, my split with the team is 70-30. Everybody else's is 50-50. 50-50 to me, and then still he gets 30% override on all of their deals, and I get a 20% override on those people, on the guys who work with me or the guys who bring us deals, etc. So it's one of the benefits of being in business with my dad is he gets a 30% override of everything I do, and so hopefully getting to a point here where that will allow him to step out of production, which for the most part he has. But as far as what we do to find deals, it's all over the place. Public record is a big one. So we talked about, death, birth, divorce, and marriage. When you're those typically apply to retail. Marriage and birth are typically retail deals, right? Someone who has a baby typically needs a bigger house or needs to buy their first house. Someone who's getting married, same concept, bigger house, buying their first house. Right. So that's pretty exclusively retail. But death typically creates an estate, and divorce typically creates a problem, right? So in divorces, if there's a piece of property in the community, if there's a piece of real property in the community property, meaning they own a house together, typically there is a sale, right? Typically that's the easiest solution. They sell the property, and a lot of times you'll get people who, one of the main precursors for divorce in the United States is financial struggle. So not only are people getting divorced, a lot of times there's an underlying financial issue that led to the circumstances that created the divorce to begin with. And so you're solving a couple of problems, and that's actually what we look for when we look for leads and motivations. We actually look for stacked motivations. Like not only are you getting divorced, but you're in pre-foreclosure, and you're in pre-foreclosure on a property that you inherited from mom and dad. And so now title isn't clear, you have dead people on title, the loan's going to pre-foreclosure, and y'all are in the middle of a divorce. You guys need a solution, and you need it done. And so very rarely do you find somebody who just has one motivation for selling, and that one motivation is just enough for them to take a huge discount. A lot of times if someone just has one motivation for selling just because they wanna, then those people tend to be good retail leads, right? That's where having your license comes into play, and you can say, hey, man, we can always just put your house on the market. You know, let's put your house on the market. It's where you'll make the most amount of money. You'll pay the most amount of fees, but it's where you're guaranteed to net the most amount of money is on the MLS, on the open market. But again, you can't offer that service with a real estate license.
Yeah.
So that's where the licensure comes back into play. And then beyond that, so we look at expired leads in the MLS, meaning those are people who had their house on the market and failed to sell it. Those are good lead sources because those people raised their hands and said, hey, I want to sell my house, and tried and failed. Those people may be looking for an easier solution. The marketplace might not be what they want to try again. A lot of times they do. A lot of times they'll just relist with somebody else, or try a different strategy when relisting. Sometimes they'll go do repairs and relist, better photography, relist, different agent, relist. But there's plenty of deals that I've bought where I just call them and say, hey man, you were on the market for 270 days. Can I just buy it from you? I'll cover all the closing costs. I won't charge you any commissions, but in turn, you're gonna give me a pretty big discount because it's my responsibility as a business owner and an investor is to buy profitable investments. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. But fuck it. Like, I don't want to mess with this thing anymore. If you're gonna make my life easy, I will like take it. Just take it from me.
You can only do that because you have a license, right? And you saw that lead in the system.
No, you can get access to expired listings through public sources. They're just typically on a time delay. The MLS, I get them instantaneously because that's where the expired status begins in the MLS, and then will get communicated to third-party sources. So like there's, I'll show you here if you guys want to turn the.
So as we're working on our licenses, that's something we can.
You can still prospect, yeah. You can still, and that's what we call it, was prospecting. Like you're digging for gold. Yeah, come on over. And we're still live streaming, so you're on camera. Yeah.
What is everyone else?
Where are you
Does
live
this host
streaming?
everyone, or does
What's
everyone-
that?
Oh, where are you live streaming?
YouTube. I've actually just started live streaming this week, and it's mostly to create some content so the guys can see what I'm doing. And also I'm asking them to do it, so I like to show them that I'm doing it also.
Can I put my YouTube name? Nah, I'm joking.
Yeah, you got one?
I actually don't have one.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you could have. I'm more than happy to plug whatever you got. Plug Lockheed Martin while we're going.
Hey.
That's all Lockheed Martin folks.
So I'll show you. This one is, this is called Batch Leads. This is something that we pay for. And this is a good example. This is a public-facing tool, meaning you don't have to be licensed to have an account on this.
Yeah.
I've got all the guys on my team that are licensed, and I give access to here. And again, I try and reserve the stuff that is sensitive to our actual like day-to-day business, to our licensed people. But I think I have 10 slots, up to 10 users. Oh no, up to 8 users, and so I'm only using 5 in addition to mine. So we have 2 more spots on this. So like this is something, if you committed to going and getting licensed, this is a public-facing tool that I could give you access to. Actually, it looks like all these, like Jackson's the only one who activated his account.
Wait, this you don't need a license for it? Or you do need a license?
No, don't need one, but because I'm paying for the account, I'm licensed, this is my business and my team, I ask that my people have at least the commitment to be licensed, meaning they're at least in real estate school, and running all this stuff through me just to make sure that they're staying compliant.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we hell. Well, as you know, I've already have an interest into getting into real estate just because of like seeing my mom's place, then getting that duplex.
What's the likelihood that you leave Lockheed? That question goes to both of you.
Honestly, I've been telling this guy that for me, Lockheed is like, obviously we went to school for it and everything like that.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, after seeing how much money I made just from the duplex, I made like quite a bit of money just like from the appraisal and everything. They're pretty. I mean,
Yeah.
So
There's valuation.
I'm planning to buy another house pretty soon, but I'm just trying to figure out my best options first.
So actually, I'm glad that you brought that up. So one of the things that we have on the team structure is because not everything that we buy, we immediately turn around and sell. Everybody gets 3 personal transactions a year.
Okay.
Because we're all in this to build our net worth. I want everybody to develop and grow. Yep. And so that means that you get 3 transactions per year that the team has nothing to do with. Typically that's enough so you can go buy a house for yourself, maybe add a rental or an Airbnb or something like that to your portfolio on your own where the team has nothing to do with it.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're limited to 3 deals per year to hold on to. It just means that everything beyond those 3 deals, the team has 50% ownership of. And that's because we're providing the tools and the resources, and it's like we're making all of this stuff happen.
Right.
And so as a result, so say like Jackson went and bought 3 houses tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go buy a 4th one as a rental property, just Beery Nice Homes would own half of it. But he could still go buy it. So he could Essentially, you know, if he bought 10 properties, 3 of them would be 100% his and the other 7 would be 50%. So instead of adding 3 properties to his portfolio, he added, what would that be, 3 plus 3.5, so 6.5 properties,
Right.
because the company would own half of the other ones that are above and beyond his personal transactions.
Okay.
Wait, so y'all just help him when you say personal transaction, when he owns the house, like, y'all are just helping him with what exactly? Like y'all are just giving him.
Oh, well, so an example of something that's a personal transaction that we don't help him at all with. He owns a house and he wants to go stick it on the market and he doesn't want to pay the brokerage anything. That's fine, right? He owns that house. It's
That's
his.
a personal transaction.
That's his personal transaction.
Okay, so that's basically something that y'all don't.
Correct. He's still using the MLS. He's still a licensed agent at our brokerage. He still hangs his license here. When he goes and puts it in the MLS, it's still going to show us as Very Nice Homes. Because like when you have a listing, I'll show you. So let's pull up one of mine.
Oh, so he kind of like buys from himself.
Basically, so like, see, here's Christopher Beery. This is my listing. Shows at Very Nice Homes. Like, if Jackson were to go list his house tomorrow, it would still, like, you can't be individually licensed in the state of Texas. You have to be under a broker. Correct. Yeah, you have to hang your license with a broker. And so typically, if you have a transaction that you put on the MLS and it closes, your broker is the one who gets paid. You as the individual agent don't get paid. Your broker gets paid everything, and then your broker pays you.
Right.
And so because of the way we have our team structure, I would say most companies allow 1 personal transaction per year. I think our
But you guys are very nice.
We are very nice. But the one transaction that they do, they essentially have to get permission. They have to get permission from the broker to not pay that split, because they actually don't get a choice. The brokerage is going to dictate, unless they get permission, where the money goes. And so, sorry, I'm just making sure I got a couple.
No, you guys. If you ever got a call or
No. You're good. We're gonna do some cold calling here in a second, because if that's okay with you guys, if you want to see it
for sure.
But yeah, so those personal transactions are created because we want people to be able to buy and sell their own houses. We want people to be able to buy and sell properties and add to their portfolio, relatively unencumbered. I mean, if you added 3 houses to your portfolio every year for 5 years, it's 15 properties. That's more than most people do in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And then again, above and beyond that, there's still the incentive. You can still buy more than just those 3. Just the company gets a slice of everything after those 3.
You find a really good deal, and it's like,
yes,
I kind of want to get this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to turn it down, and then there's always the opportunity to buy us out of it, everything else, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, yeah, you brought up. I don't remember what it was that you brought up, but you brought up something that made me think of that. I don't even know.
You made some money from your.
From your duplex. Yeah.
Duplex, yeah. So I was like talking about just in terms of like, obviously you asked me earlier about Lockheed, whatever.
Yeah.
Quit. Answer is yes, of course.
Okay.
If I can make it more money, then just better avenue of just business.
Yeah.
This is entrepreneurship, right?
Yep.
Definitely, that's probably the way to go. I mean, personally, I kind of want to start building my portfolio.
Sure.
I read a few books. That's how I kind of got into it, to be honest. Bigger
What
Pockets.
I like Bigger
So they had like the whole series. Kind of read like
Yeah.
3 or 4 of those books. I was like, damn. This is when I was in Lockheed. When I first started, a guy I met was like, "Chow, you should like look into." This is when I was living with parents and renting an apartment. And he was like, "You should look into reading this book." And I was like,
Bigger Pockets is a good one because they definitely emphasize the W-2 investor, right?
Yeah.
You have a W-2 job,
yeah.
and then you're investing on the side. In my, I actually don't. I don't recommend it. Excuse me. Yes, please. It's my admin asking me for permission. I typically don't recommend W-2 investing because I don't think it's super effective. So like Coach is a really good example where he's not a W-2 investor because he owns his business, but he's getting worse deals than we get, but there's still deals. Like for the average person, the investments that he's making are going to make him far wealthier than the average person who does no investing at all.
Yeah.
But because he's delegating so much of his investment expertise to another person, he has to take worse deals. He has to buy and buy from something that's and put his own cash into it because he doesn't know or doesn't choose to leverage hard money. He has to basically pay pretty close to full retail. He has to make sure that he's analyzing. He uses Story, and Story's a great realtor, man. Like, he's been investing for a long time, so he's a great avenue for advice. But the deals that Coach are buying are probably not deals that I would buy.
Right.
Because my deals have to be self-sustaining immediately, right? I can't buy something that's going to put me in the red for really more than a year,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a business. I'm treating this like a business. Like, everything has to be in the black, at least by year's end, right? Everything has to be self-sustaining, has to be self-producing. There's not a single deal I've ever bought that didn't pay for itself pretty instantaneously.
Yeah.
And so, but that's because this is my career. I don't have supplemental income.
You're not doing.
Correct.
you're
I don't
not
have another
you
business
don't
that's
have it.
funding my
This is
life,
your
funding my
business.
savings
This is-
account. Exactly. Yeah, I have to make sure this is 100% of my business. I trade in real estate, and so I have to make sure that everything I buy pays for itself. And then I have how long it takes to pay for itself depends on the deal. Obviously, there are some deals I've bought that probably would take longer to pay. Like, I'm saying a year. Really, the rule of thumb is if it pays itself back in 18 months, I'm good. But that's a pretty crazy return. It means I'm buying at discounts. Coach is probably still buying at discounts because he's still paying cash. But then again, he's also allocating a lot of his own funds into deals. So those deals will not pay themselves back in a year. Now,
We're talking about what I think you revamped the house, or you fixed up the house or something.
to the best of my knowledge, so I sold him his personal home. He kept his personal home from then, so he went from 1 door to 2, and then I think Story just recently sold him 2 more. So I think he's at either 4 or 5 doors. And again, I'm getting a lot of this information secondhand. So, Coach, if I'm speaking out of turn, excuse me.
No worries, Don.
I was
Yeah.
talking about y'all's coach. I was just like, who's this guy named Coach?
Yeah. No, Coach Alvarez. Yeah, Coach Alvarez. Who like I highly admire. That dude is disciplined beyond belief. If he wanted to switch gears and go full-time real estate, he would kill it. But that doesn't make sense because his expertise is in jiu-jitsu, is a very successful school. And that's why I say you guys are both relatively young. If you wanted to make a career switch, you could do it successfully.
Right, and then that's why we know him from.
I already quit.
Man,
I'm thinking today now.
Yeah. So yeah, right. You going to Portugal?
Nah, I'm not sure yet. I'm still waiting.
Like
Got postponed.
they're moving you to Portugal?
No, the trip got postponed.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say Portugal's beautiful. Man.
That's why we learn as much as we can, and
Yeah, taking notes.
get to get in my head, bro.
Then over here just writing on his
No, that's
hand, bro.
mental.
Some mental notes.
Excuse me.
No, you're my.
What?
Sorry.
Actually, I'm gonna call her and explain this to
Oh,
her
yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. No, you're good. No, you don't have to go anywhere.
Oh, you're listening.
Yeah. This is my TC. This is Tammy. She's one of my admins.
Hello.
Hi, friend. I figured this would just be easier to explain over the phone. So yes, even though this is an assignment, we're signing a lease back. It functions just like a regular, like long-term 12-month lease. We're selling the property and executing the lease back as the landlords. But then when we sell the property, the lease conveys to the new owners.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Makes sense. All right. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding what was happening.
Yep, and then just quick broad strokes. I know we've got a couple, it's like Friday and we got a bunch of stuff going on next week. Am I missing anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing. CDAs are done. I sent title the documents for Shell Ridge, so I don't know how long it's going to take to get the payoff.
Okay. Would you,
So-
when you hear back on that, do you mind sending out that extension amendment for me?
Yep, absolutely.
Does Jose and his wife already know that that's what we're doing?
I don't know. I don't think title has reached out to them. So,
Okay.
and I had told him last night that there was probably going to be a little bit of a delay.
Okay. That's what I wanted to
I just
know.
responded to Reagan this morning and said, "Can you please confirm that you got the documents that I sent you at 7:30?
Yeah.
Like, they're horrible.
I know.
mean, they are awful.
That's why it's Tiffany or bust.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I don't hear from her in a little bit, I will
reach out to all parties in one email, so maybe somebody can let us know, because I don't think it's gonna be Monday.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully though, hopefully they can get the payoff in 2 to 3 days, and maybe we can close by,
Wednesday or
Thursday
Thursday.
or Friday. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much,
I'll
Tammy.
keep you updated.
You're amazing.
Talk to you later.
Bye. It's a busy week next week, so
Yeah,
it's
sounds like it.
it's Friday, so it's like, oh shit, we had a bunch of stuff kind of like all hit the fan like yesterday. And it's like we had like no time to solve any of these problems, but it's okay. So anyway, back to the ADD. Yeah, so the only reason I ask is because sales, the way that we do it, isn't. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it in a metaphor. You guys work at Lockheed. What's an example of something that like your rate of return, your efficiency is pretty low when your input is low, but as you increase the input, your efficiency goes up. So like if you put in 20% effort, you probably will only get 5% results.
Mhm.
But as your input increases, your efficiency increases. Right. So this is very much a business. Sales is very much a
It's
business.
like reps, putting your reps in. Yeah.
It's if you put in 50%, you're going to get a diminished return.
Right.
But if you put in 100%, you actually get an exponential return. So 100% input typically yields 105 to 110% results, sometimes more. But putting in less than 100% typically means that you get frustratingly diminished returns. I get people who do this part-time on the side and struggle or sputter because the name of this is more consistency than anything else. And so having a full-time job, as an example, I know a lot of realtors who are firemen, right? So firemen have kind of like an interesting work schedule, kind of like you guys. They're typically only working 2 to 3 days out of the week, and then they're off the rest of the week. And then they find a way to have some type of other supplemental sales career. Some of them are home inspectors, some of them are real estate agents, some of them are insurance agents, but they're basically running like a side gig in their other part-time, full-time job. But the other part-time, full-time job that they have as a fireman, like, eats up so much of their time and so much of their ability to stay consistent Monday through Friday or whatever like a designated work week is, that it almost kind of like throws cold water on their sales production.
It's like your bandwidth. You only have so much bandwidth.
You really do only have so much bandwidth. And like I said, your rate of return is pretty strongly diminished for every percentile below 100% that you give.
Yeah, that's something we were talking about. Basically, like if you want to do something, if you're not 100% committed, or if you're just like you have to let things go in order for you to like.
Correct. Yeah.
Go up on the next on whatever you're trying to do.
And I know it from firsthand experience. So like when I started in real estate, I was working Plan B, which was bartending in the service industry. That was what I was doing before real estate. And so I kept it up because bartending I could do in the evenings, at night, on the weekends, and make quick, easy cash that kept me afloat. And you'd think that I should be able to maintain a full-time career during normal working business hours and the side gig at night. It killed me. I didn't start making money in real estate until I quit bartending. I had to take a leap of faith. I had I think maybe $150 in my bank account when I went full-time real estate. That was in 2000 and...
Wait, 150 what?
$150 to my name in like 2017, like about 2 years after I started in real estate. My first 2 years in real estate, I really struggled because I was focusing so much energy on Plan B. And so Plan B was great, but I do find a lot of people who kind of try and make he made a smooth transition into real estate. My dad.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, my dad made a smooth transition in real estate from a 27-year-long career in the airline industry. He worked for Sky Ships. But he had the benefit of a retirement package. He's put 27 years in the company, he took a golden parachute and said, bye, and he matched his income in his first year in real estate because he was able to give real estate 100% after he took that retirement package. So it's doable, but I tell you, like, in the long term, if this is something that you're interested in and you want to shift towards it, you want to set hard deadlines for when you cut off your Plan B.
Me personally, just obviously kind of.
And that's personal advice, right? You might have a different personality, different work style. You might be able to maintain 2 different things. It's just I haven't really met anybody yet.
So I work from home right now.
Okay, all right.
I personally work from home right now, so again, it's given me a lot of opportunities just to have like not big bandwidth, just being able to work.
Yeah, for sure.
multiple things. But at the same time, I think personally, if like I could figure out ways to make real estate my full-time thing, which I was already thinking about, especially getting into.
Okay.
Because I do want to run if I do give a portfolio, I have to hire a property manager. They say literally in the book like.
I don't manage my own property.
Huh?
I don't manage my own
Yeah,
property.
right.
I can. I'm licensed. I have the ability to do it.
No, it's a headache.
Yeah.
If you run real estate like a hobby, it's gonna
pay like a hobby.
Pay like a hobby. But if
Mhm.
you run real estate like a full-time business, which is what I'm planning to do.
Yeah.
Or trying to do. My timeline would probably be like in 1 to 2 years if everything pops off. Then yes, I will definitely quit Lockheed.
Yeah, I think that's probably, if you're going to maintain Lockheed for 1 to 2 years, it'll probably take you 1 to 2 years to wean off of it.
Yeah, just to learn as much as I can. Cause like you said, it all comes with experience.
Yep.
Right? And you only can get that experience through. Like you said, trying out for like when you first started bartending, right? Get a point where like, you know what? I think if I jump out of this boat, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I'll be okay. But first, you need to get that.
It's always scary. It really kind
Yeah.
of doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how many deals you have in pending, how secure you feel. Cutting off that lifeline is always terrifying. And I just, for whatever reason, I chose to do it the hardest way possible, and I cut off my life. Honestly, my lifeline is what was killing me. Right, my bartending gig.
Well, you didn't realize that until you took the leap of faith.
Correct.
Oh, you realized it. Maybe.
It's not that I didn't realize it. I should have realized it sooner.
Right.
Because it wasn't like I didn't have like a bunch of mentors in my immediate circle. I mean, my dad was my dad was like, literally, he was helping me keep the lights on. He was like, quit bartending. Come into the office, work full time. Like, if you're not able to get into the office and wake up in time to come and work a full work day, you're not going to get paid for a full work day. And early on in my career, I'd have mentors who would tell me, like, what store are you aware of that is open for 30 minutes to an hour a day that's profitable?
Yeah.
None of them. You can't have a business that's only open 30 minutes to an hour a day that's going to be profitable in the short term. Maybe there's some exceptions to that rule, but there are not many. The majority of businesses, if you're trying to run on half an hour to an hour a day tops, right? Like, that's average. Like, my brother's very lucky. He maybe cumulatively puts in 10 hours a week. Maybe. But he's been doing this for 5 years. Mm-hmm. He's got really good background. He has our team to rely on. He has really, really good social connections. So he basically is a social creature that gets the benefit of being social as sales job. So he sells deals because he knows lots of people and has a lot of good reputation with people. He would sell less deals if he didn't also belong to this company, belong to this team, have a dad and a brother who were heavy in production, could solve problems for him, help bail him out, connect dots for him when needed. And that isn't to speak negatively on my brother at all. He's 25, owns his own house, is fully rented out. He doesn't pay his own mortgage. He's making like $50,000 to $70,000 a year, which for a 25-year-old with no kids, that's plenty of money. You're probably making less money in your first year at Lockheed. Fuck me. So anyway, yeah, all that to say, sales is not as glamorous as it seems. It is glamorous in my opinion because I have 4 kids, a wife. I can, like, my work schedule is what I put on this thing. Right, like this was my week today. This is my week this week, right? Those are all appointments with sellers. Those are all different things that I had to do, except for this one. I have to go pick up a tent that I bought this weekend. But everything else, like, this was a seller I met with. This was a seller I met with. This was actually one of my buyers that I have under contract. I had to go let them into this house. That's a seller I met with. This is a seller I met with yesterday. This seller I just moved to Monday morning. This is who I was supposed to meet with this morning. I've got appointments out for the next week, and so, like, I'm here setting appointments, taking notes every single day, and it's overwhelming. And if I was trying to do this on top of another job, I would fail. Yeah. And that's not me being negative on myself. That's me understanding my own limitations, because I am a pretty freaking ADD. Yeah. And yeah, no. So, like, as a matter of fact, this guy's actually an investor. Same deal. He wanted to get into real estate. And he has a full-time career that's very lucrative. And by the time it was all said and done, he realized that, he's probably just better off investing his capital and earning double-digit returns on his money, because he's got a full-time career that earns stuff for him. And this is the way that he can get involved in real estate and make real estate a profitable industry for him, completely passively on the side. So some people choose to do that. But I mean, yeah, my schedule's my own. I go to all the baseball games. I hang out with my kids. Me and my daughter are going to Austin at the end of the month. At the end of April, we're all going to Gulf Shores to his one of his beach properties for Easter weekend. I mean, like it's awesome. That's the glamour of it. Is that because I make my own schedule, I make my own schedule.
Yeah.
But it means that when I am working, I have to be working.
Yeah.
I was at that baseball game last night with my iPad, filling out contracts. It's part of it. And so it's just there's an exchange that's made. I have way more freedom, but that freedom comes with a cost. Freedom requires discipline. Because otherwise, if I had all the freedom in the world, I'd probably just rather stay at home and play video games or hang out with my wife and kids or something. Like my wife used to work with me, and I made almost no money because she'd be like, "Hey, I need to go to Costco." I was like, "Oh, that sounds great. Let's go to Costco. Forget these phone calls, man. I'm tired of getting cussed at. Let's go to Costco. That sounds like fun." And so, anyway, I'll stop preaching about how sales really does require a lot of your bandwidth, a lot of your attention.
Yeah.
But it's because I probably didn't understand that well enough getting into it. And in hindsight, I wish I had, because I probably would have made some different decisions at the beginning. I'd still be doing this, but I'd be probably a lot farther along in my journey a lot sooner if I had understood the commitment I needed to make earlier on. So anyway, going back to this tool, because it's public facing, this one's called Batch Leads. So this is just a good example of, so we were talking about expired listings. You guys can scoot in, come on. We're all friendly. I know what
I roll with him, man.
I was gonna say, I know what this dude's breath smells like. We're good, man. Like not even that. Like I'm pretty sure you've sweat in my mouth or something like that before. It's right. Dude, like I roll with.
I mean, this I was like, "Where's Chris?" And I think I talked to Jackson. And he's like,
I had surgery.
"Oh yeah." I was like, "Damn."
I probably could have trained like the month and a half or two leading up to my surgery, but I was nervous too.
Just be safe. I mean, like, no, I think I had my shoulder.
It's hard not to feel like
my labrum torn like last year.
It's really hard not to feel like a baby. It's hard to feel like I'm not like just because at the same time, like, because that's happened before where like I have an injury that like I probably am taking too seriously.
Yeah, when a kid touches the stove, they're not gonna go near that stove ever again.
But here's a good example. So in this particular instance, I just dropped a little circle, probably like a 3.5 to 4 mile radius from where we are right here.
Yeah.
In this circle, it turns up 2,900 expired listings, about 13,000 that don't have any equity. There's about 67,000 records of properties that are free and clear, meaning they don't owe anything on the property right now. They have no mortgage or no interest or no debt against the property. Of that, like 23,000 that are company owned, meaning that they're not owned by an individual. They're in some type of corporate structure, an LLC. 37,000 of them are owned by people who don't live there, meaning this is either some type of extra property or an investment
How does
property.
that even work? Like, when people have a property that they don't live, aren't they still paying the mortgage if it's on a loan? Or is it completely paid off?
Yeah, is your duplex paid off?
No.
Exactly. You don't live there. Do you live in your duplex?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
I didn't notice. Well, that's my goal is to move out of the duplex.
You can move within
Do
a
you
year.
live in the other
I
side?
live on the other side right now.
Do you pay mortgage on the other side?
Yes. Well, I live pay mortgage on the whole thing, but the renting itself from the other half does not pay off the entire mortgage. It pays off most of it, but it doesn't pay off all of it.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, if you exclude the fact that you have to have a cost of life for where you're living now,
Yeah.
your extra property is profitable and you don't live there.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what's happening here.
Oh,
Most of
so
these
they're
absentee
just
owners,
renting.
they're renting it or some version of that. Now, some of them just like own the property and just don't live there anymore.
Well, no, I was just curious, like, if they just bought it, don't live there, or have anyone
So this is, I'll show you an example of
have
what,
there.
I'll show you.
You have to live there at least a year, and then you can move out.
It depends on your loan structure. There are some loans that you can buy as non-owner occupancy loans. And then there's other loans that, you got to be there for a year to satisfy the occupancy requirements because you got that deal on the loan that you did because you were buying it as a home, not an investment. When you buy something as an investment, they instantly want 20% down and you're going to pay a higher interest rate than you would if you were a homeowner buyer.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why what he does is called house hacking. You're buying a home, you live there long enough to satisfy your home ownership requirements with your loan, and then you turn it into investment. So you got the lower down payment, the better interest rate, and then you can move out and turn it into an investment property.
Yeah.
Now, if you try and do that before you satisfy those requirements, by definition, it's loan fraud. So something to keep in mind. But I'll give you an example of what it looks like to have a property that you own and how it is this system knows that if this person is an absentee owner. So, oh, that's not the right example. Let's try this one. So here's a property. This is a realist. So this is actually the parent data source for the appraisal districts. So all the tax appraisal districts actually pull out of this particular tool. But in this case, here we have an address.
Yeah.
And the tax address is different, and it's not listed. Normally this right here would say owner occupied. And it would say yes if this person owner occupied this house. So this record comes up as a absentee owner, meaning they own the house, don't live here. Their tax address is different, even though they are the person on title. And so that's what populates into this little thing here. And you'll see in that circle, there's 37,000. 800 of them, 800 of these houses, like if I close out all the filters, and that circle, how do I clear it? Oh. This is a nationwide tool also, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. Some markets are a little bit more accurate than others, but so just in this circle, there's 108,000 records.
Mm-hmm.
So of those, this is the breakdown. 2,100 are expired listings. 10,000 don't have unknown amounts of equity. Almost 600 of them are actually on the market. 106 of them are inherited properties, meaning the person that has title to it, they have some type of public record, like an affidavit of heirship or probate showing that the property transferred from a family member. 23,000 of them are owned by people who bought their house all cash. 1,300 are what they classify as tired landlords, which is a combination of things. It's a property that was rented and has been rented for a long time, potentially isn't rented right now and has an absentee owner, right? So it was on the market as a rental in the past. The person has had it for a long time, and the property is has absentee owner status.
Great.
We have a bunch that are vacant, some that are in tax default. So like that's what batch leads is nice. What this it used to be called batch lead stacker, and so what you were doing is you were stacking these motivations on top of one another. So that's just these are just the quick things. So if I wanted to come in here, I could find all the properties that were currently have some type of pre-foreclosure status, but are not on the market. In that circle, there are 70. And so I could come in here individually, and now this is one of the reasons why I want the people that are on here to be at least committed to getting licensed soon, is I can actually come in here, save that property, pull up the hung fan. So this, I'm actually gonna skip that one, but like, you'll find that actually the ethnic names, specifically Hispanic and Asian names, become very difficult to track down. Because just in that circle, there's probably, I don't know, 150 Jose Rodriguez's. So it's hard to narrow down the Jose Rodriguez's. People with the last name Tran or Fan, things like that. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Like, what's your last name?
Chow. So that's a little different.
That's a little bit different, but yeah, but still, like, how many people do you know with the last name Fan? Right.
One Mexico's Tran. Two Mexico's Tran.
Never heard of Chow's.
So it's rare. It's one of the,
But here's the neat thing about this tool. So like, here's this person. I have all this data about their property. I know who the owner's full name is. I can come in here and like, here's the sales history. In 2017, they got an FHA loan for $145,000. That doesn't expire until 2047. Their estimated loan payment is $825, meaning that's not including taxes and interest. Here's the tax information, last MLS status, any foreclosure lien status. There was foreclosure information. There's a foreclosure sale. Ooh.
What does it mean by foreclosure? Like, what is that? Like?
It means that they defaulted on their loan.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, they defaulted on their loan and went at the very least into pre-foreclosure, meaning they, this one in this case, borrower name. So they must have maintained this property. They managed to pull it out of foreclosure, probably with like a loan modification. Again, that's where we can get even more into the weeds, into like solving people's problems in other ways other than buying their property from them.
Like how?
So for instance, foreclosures, a lot of times we can help them restructure loan modifications, going to their bank and basically saying like, hey, how can we make it to where like, yes, I've missed a bunch of payments, but can we restructure this to where I resume making payments, we take whatever debt I have, any fees, and tack it on the back of the loan so I can stay here and I don't get kicked out of my house and you don't take my house from me.
right.
So that's called a loan modification. And then you also have like what are called forbearances, which people didn't really know about before COVID, and then after COVID, too many people knew about them. Forbearance is basically where you go to the bank and say, hey, I will continue to owe you what I owe you, plus fees, plus whatever, like attorney's fees and stuff like that you're going to charge me, but I want you to put my payments on pause for a certain amount of time while I go through this hardship. A bunch of people got hardship forbearances during COVID, not realizing, thinking like, oh, they're just going to pause my payments and then I'll pick them up and it'll all be forgiven. It's not forgiven. They tack it on the back of the loan with fees and interest and everything else. So there's a lot of people who went into forbearance that by the time they came out of it actually ended up in trouble. Like they were in a worse financial situation coming out of forbearance than they were going into it. And so again, like there's just a bunch of things that you learn doing this in and out on a daily basis. But the neatest thing about this tool is I can come in here and I can do this. It's going to cost me 12 cents.
12 cents for what is that?
It's called skip tracing.
What is it?
Skip tracing is the process of finding the contact information. So I can actually come in here.
So those are the leads. So basically, is this what you would do? Like get leads? And just...
Yeah, I'm going to cold call this guy right now. Hello? Hello, hello?
Is that phone number 1?
Yep.
Wow.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 817-437-0851 is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Yes, hi Spencer, my name's Chris. I'm calling you about the property that you've got there on Marydale. If you don't mind, give me a call back when you can. I'm interested in that house. My phone number is 817-600-2077. Again, 817-600-2077. Thanks, look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye.
Sweet and simple.
Yep, and just keep trying. And over 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 again. And
So
then
which number do you use? Like,
I called the third one. So, I mean, I could call all of them. We also have another tool called Forewarn, so if I wanted to, I could come in here. So this is a tool I already pay for. This skip trace is just really mostly for facility.
Right.
Now, Forewarn is an agent-only tool, but it's actually not designed for what I use it for. It's designed from like a safety perspective for people to know, like, hey, when you meet with a stranger, do they have like a criminal background or anything like that? So in this case, we're going to look up the owner's name and his zip code. And this is why I say like skip tracing people with common names is very difficult to do.
Yes.
And here we go. Here he is, middle name, confirmed address. He's 29. That's him. Here's his foreclosure record. That's why he's on this list. You know, he went into foreclosure back in 2022. You know, it doesn't look like it went through, but he's actually been fighting foreclosure for a while. And then it also gives me, you know, here's his property record, his original loan amount, everything else. And then here's his phone records. So that first one I called is probably the one that's most accurate. And I didn't call this other one that came up as his. But yeah, I mean, 3 numbers. I didn't pay 12 cents for this. I paid a monthly membership for this.
Oh, good.
I can pull about 250 a week before they flag me and say, hey, slow down.
Don't look too crazy.
Right, yeah, you're going a little too crazy.
just a question on the foreclosure services you were mentioning. So how do y'all get paid on that one?
We don't. I get paid in the long term to solve as many people's problems as I can.
Oh,
If someone calls me and says, hey, I'm in foreclosure, I want your help because I think I'm stuck. I think I have to sell. And it turns out they don't have to sell. And their real goal is to keep the house. I'm gonna help them keep the house. There's a chance that they come back. There's a chance that they end up in the same situation 5-6 months down the road and then they're really stuck and they can't sell or they can't modify anymore. They can't get any more extensions. But if someone comes to me and says like, hey, I really don't want to do this, but I think I need to sell my house, and we figure out that they don't, I'm going to help them keep their house. And not because, not necessarily just because I'm a good person. I do it because ultimately I build my business on the back of my integrity. Being honest with people is what would make someone like that call me and say, hey, you remember how you solved my problem when you bailed me out of trouble? My sister's in the same boat. or my next door neighbor's in the same boat. Do you think you could help them? And maybe that person's further down the line and they aren't in a salvageable position anymore, and I do have to bail them out and buy the house from them. So, no, you get significantly farther in business doing the right thing.
Yeah.
100% of the time. And so, yeah, there's plenty of opportunities. I've even got one yesterday I was talking about on the live stream. That lady called me, or I called her rather. She was an expired. She called me back and told me she had it on the market for too much money. She's going through a divorce. She really only has one goal. She wants to pay off the $40,000 loan. She wants $100,000 for her and $100,000 for her husband, and that's it. That would get her out of trouble. That would solve all her problems. She doesn't really want to go any further than that. That doesn't leave enough meat on the bone for me to make any money on. And it's not a deal that I want, even though the house is beautiful. It's actually turnkey, it's rental.
Right.
But I know somebody who would pick up that deal. And I even sent it to her and said, I might not be able to make money on this, but I'm happy to connect the dots. Is this something you're interested in? If so, I'll just turn it over to you. I make $0, but I solve that person's problem and I solidify the relationship with the person who I sell the contract to. And so, do I make money? No. Is it profitable? Not really. But in the long run, I consider it like good karma. Yeah, it's good karma. You know, you never know when that seller might come back again. Similar situation, she's going to go tell all her friends. That's not precisely why I do it. I do it because I do like being a good person.
Yeah.
But I have found that the more often I come to genuinely help people solve their problems, the more money I make. It's the Zig Ziglar quote. You get everything you want out of life by helping as many people get what they want out of life.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense to me.
Yep. And so now,
Hot in here.
yeah, it is hot in here. I'll turn on the AC in a sec. Are you warm? Do you want me to turn on the AC?
It's wetter, bro.
Yeah.
That's because it was raining and whatnot this morning.
It's just too cool for school, man. But yeah, so batch leads is one that if you wanted to, I'd look into. There is some like public platforms if you wanted to just kind of like get started on your own, and you could. I'd tell you, like, you probably end up in the weeds and paying for a subscription unnecessarily if you did that. But you know, this is a tool this is an example of a tool that I would probably get you started on before you were officially licensed, but after you made the commitment to get licensed, right? Because at least at that point, I'm taking a little bit of a gamble on your eligibility by the end. Yeah, stand up, stretch out.
Pushing out my legs.
Yeah, you're good. Man, tell me about it. Like this combination of this and sitting in this chair has been just killing me. But yeah, so this is an example of tools. There's also just like public records, so you'd be amazed. Like most, we go just Tarrant County pre-foreclosures, man. You just Google it. Oh,
Would that pop up on Zillow? Would you be able to find stuff on Zillow as well?
You could.
But Zillow's probably.
It's again time delay. Like why would I look on Zillow whenever it's all registered in the public record? I mean, I can come in here. Let me go to the search criteria. Let's go advanced search. I just want to look for sale dates. It's March, so the upcoming sale date is the first Tuesday in April. So come on, load.
Tuesday.
Oh, 2023. Foreclosures, at least in most major counties in Texas, happen on the first Tuesday of the month. So in this case, these are all people. So there's how many? What are 242 filings just in Tarrant County. All of these people are losing their house on the first Tuesday unless they restructure, modify, refinance, or sell. And a lot of them, again, at this point, it's too late to restructure, too late to refinance, too late to loan mod. If they're this close, the only thing that they really can do is sell.
So y'all just call all these people up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, in this case, like, easy. Here we go. I have the address, so I'll just come in here, look up 3152
Interesting.
Pine Valley. I'm looking for, let's see, who's the name on here? A Christopher Unachukwu. It looks like he sold. What is this, Grand Prairie? He sold already. Name on title right there. See how it's changed?
So you can find that same information on there, right? The foreclosure.
Yep.
This just helps you.
Would you say this is better than Tarrant County?
This is at least free.
Okay.
Right? You have to turn around and like figure out how to find contact information from here. That's, Google searching, truepeoplesearch.com. That's free. It's not the most accurate thing in the world, but like, so here, I'll just give you an example. So this one already sold. You can actually see, look, their sale date was March 8th. They just sold this one. Because they had to, right? This won't sell at auction anymore. They don't remove this once it sells, but But they literally, like, they filed this foreclosure. Look, they stamped it at the county clerk on the 2nd. They turned around and closed 6 days later. So this person got bailed out of trouble. If I open this up here, let's put this over here. This person, here he is, Christopher Unachukwu. Right? So let's say I didn't have access to the MLS and I had to use True People Search.
Oh yeah, no, True People Search.
You used it before?
No, I just feel like it would. I mean, this is. I don't know. It sounds like it would.
Yeah, it's totally. But, you know, same thing. We're going to just come in here and compare because it's not as accurate. You take everything, when things aren't as accurate, we work with inaccurate data all the time. It just means that you have to do more volume. You have to work harder.
Yeah.
So, first thing that comes up is Christopher Unachukwu. And then we're just going to look him up real quick and see how close True People Search got to our tools to give you an idea of, like, it's doable, although slightly slower, slightly less accurate. I will absolutely turn this AC on in like 30 seconds because I am sweating. Okay, so we have a bunch of phone numbers that come up. Oh, well, hold on. I did spell his name wrong. Unachukwu. Here you go. 8 phone records. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So first number that comes up, it's the same number. So I pay a monthly subscription for this. This pulled it up for free.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, granted, free-ish. I still get all these ads and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes there's like a, you know, naked person or something over here, but like, you know, but like, yes, as far as like, it's doable. It's a little bit slower, but than what we do. But it's I like when I first started doing this. Before I found Forewarn, I used True People Search. That's why I know about it. Before I knew about batch leads, I was on here on the public filings because that's what I knew about. You could do the same thing with
How's y'all's funneling looking like you said that you put it on like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, etc. Like,
say that again.
You said that you put y'all's problem solving and whatnot on like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, etc. Like whatnot. Like, do people actually call you guys up a lot of times from like that? Or
well, they don't call us. They go into our
faster to like.
They fill out a form or something.
Yeah, they fill out a form and they come in here. So I'll show you what they look like when they come in. And remember, we're marketing for all different kinds of stuff. So most of the people that come in here are coming in as like buyer leads because they're coming in off our website. So they're typically looking for properties. But like these are verified leads. These are people that came in. So here's a new one.
So basically, you just have a bunch of people just getting into you. Whether you're calling people like this or whether you're getting people like that.
Correct.
So you have a long list of just calling.
We work on like 6 lead sources. There's a bunch of lead sources, but typically we try and find like 6 pillars that we get good at. Kind of the same thing. Like, you know, you can't be a jack of all trades and a master of all trades at the same time. So we do narrow it down to what we're good at. I like motivated seller leads. So the motivated seller lists are typically pre-foreclosures, probates, divorces. So like this is probate record search right here. Very similar, just Googled it. I still have to do some, where's my search? Probate, court public browse, there it is. Now I can also search evictions, which is tired landlords, so you can call people that have just recently filed evictions. But in this case, like if I just come in here and I go date filed, and I'm looking for everybody that filed some type of probate filing within the month of December of last year. Because that's the one thing with probate is the actual probate process takes a long time.
Yep.
So the likelihood that, you know, you catch somebody the day they filed probate and they become something that day is pretty low. But here we go. Here's an independent administration of a probate. So we have an applicant, a Matthew Cohn, applying for a John Albert Cohn, probably his dad. Dad died in November. We could come in here and look in the tax roll. It's being filed in Tarrant County. So we're going to assume that Mr. Cohn probably had a property. So Cohn, John, let's see what comes up. Nothing. So then we go back. We find someone else. Letters testamentary is typically used. The letters testamentary process is typically used to apply to be able to sell a property out of the estate. So that's something that and sometimes it's cars, sometimes it's land, sometimes it's a house. You know, we never really know. But again, then we just come in here and we look up the name of the decedent, the dead person, and see, does that person have title to anything? Yep, they have title to 2 properties.
Even though he's dead?
Even though he's dead. Yeah, you can have title if you're dead. We have dead people on title all the time. That's why they're doing this process right here, is to be able to take title to sell it. So just because you die doesn't mean title goes away. You have to clear title then, right? You have to go reach out to this Tommy McClung, who's the applicant, which fortunately they put in their mailing address and everything else, so I'll be able to look them up, no problem. But yeah, here's one on Lonesome Trail. I've got a Robert Lemke and a Robert E. Lemke. This is Robert H. Lemke, so I'm gonna try this one. Yeah, Robert and Jennifer Lemke. For all I know, this person is maybe like a descendant or something. That's a pretty uncommon name. But they bought this property back in 2006. And yeah, I mean, so for all we know, I just call this and see what we need to do about it, right? And then just continue, and then I'll call, do some research, try to see if I can find them, and then move on to the next one.
So once you're getting through the process of like, oh hey, like actually I'm interested in selling now. So what is the steps after that?
Normally coming to see the property, coming as scheduling an appointment to walk the property. Most of our deal conversions are done in person. It's very difficult to get someone convinced to sell their property to you over the phone.
Yeah.
You can, but that's a much more refined skill, right? It's just it takes a.
Sell me your home.
It's happened. I bought houses side by side.
bro.
Yeah, no, I've done it. Yeah, I have 100% bought and sold houses 100% over the phone. There's a couple of properties that I bought completely sight unseen and never even saw, sold profitably without ever seeing them. But I've been doing this a decade, so like, you know, it's just a refined skill. Can you do it out of the gate? Yes, it just depends on the asset class. So raw land, a little bit easier. What do you have to see? You're gonna meet somebody to look at a raw piece of property. Everything you need. It's on Google Street View and satellite image. You know, it's here. Look at this dirt. Now, sometimes there's more to it, but for the most part, yeah, you can trade raw land completely remote. But I wouldn't set that expectation that you're going to be trading raw or trading properties remote. So in most cases,
for raw land most of the time is because I think I saw an ad on that. People will be like calling people and like rather than like going to the place itself.
do you want a bottle of water or anything? Let me turn the AC on.
Yeah, let me use the restroom real quick.
No.
Yeah, dude, struggling.
There's two of them. They're right there.
I'll just get a water.
Yeah. Let me squeeze past you real quick.
I was also eyeing the Jolly Ranchers.
You're what?
I was also eyeing the Jolly Ranchers that you have in front.
We have Jolly Ranchers up front? They're yours, bro.
Alright, you got a little bit. Oh, no, Jolly Ranchers. It was confetti.
For what?
It was just confetti.
Oh. That's hilarious. I was like, we're all healthy around here, man.
How many options are here?
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 and I'll go ahead. Bye everybody, that's a live stream for the day.